of course, outlives me.
Wow. Please put your hands together for her. What is your name, please? Bukola. Put your hands together for Bukola. Wow. You are sitting next to greatness. Please shake your neighbor. Say, congratulations, greatness. Wow. She talked about sustainability, meaning I don't just want to do this business. I want this business to outlive me. And guess what? We have somebody who is coming all the way from Uganda. I can't wait. Can you wait? Can you wait? She's coming to talk to us, and she's going to share about how they were able to take this company and do succession planning. So this is right up your alley. This is beautiful, right? Sustainability. How you can grow your business beyond just you. It shouldn't end with just you. It should go on, continue 100 years after you've gone to see the Lord. Thank you so much. Brilliant, brilliant contribution. Anybody else wants to share? Anybody else wants to share? Thank you. There's a lady behind. Thank you. Your name, please. Yes, it's working now.
Okay. My name is 𝐓𝐿-𝐸𝐻𝐿, and I came here because I heard women in business, women in leadership, and I know this is something that a path I want to go down on. And I want to hear their stories. I want to be inspired by them. People that I want to look up to, because now I'm trying to start businesses. I'm studying, I'm doing a master's in management, so I'm already taking those steps into leadership. But I want to hear how they got there, the steps, their struggles, things like that. That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for her. She wants to hear their struggles, the steps they took, and how they were eventually able to arrive at where they are today. And maybe next year she'll just be one of our speakers. If you're not clapping, is there something? Yeah, please. Thank you so much. Maybe, just maybe next year. All right, who else wants to share with us? We still have some. Thank you. So I have some hands. So, okay, the lady in black. Please, the roaming mic, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is 𝐓𝐿 𝐸𝐻𝐿, and I am so delighted to be here. I don't want to take your time, but
Yes,
the way I came here I think is divine, because I saw the billboard and I'm like, oh, this should be something I should attend. And then I couldn't get the message, like the address and any other contact I was supposed to get. And when I remembered, like, you're supposed to be here. The day I was going to work, I don't know how I just turned and I saw the billboard. Like the billboard, it looked like the billboard shifted from where it was initially to where I should see it, you know. And thank God it did. And I was able to get the details. I got my ticket that moment while I was in the bus and all that. So you say, why am I here? I'm here because I want to be seen. I'm here because I believe I have so much. I mean, I also have this, there's women in exhibition in the UK that I'm part of. And these are platforms that I try to do, get engaged with that are not even in Nigeria. And then having it here in my own home, I think is a blessing, and it is the beginning of me being seen, you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful. She wants to be seen. Let's put our hands together for our speakers as they come in. Let's put our hands together. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Please remember the hashtag is the Platform Africa. There will be live recordings. Please ensure that your phones are on silent and we minimize movement in front. And without further ado, are you guys excited to get into the business of the day? Are we ready? I can't hear you. Are you ready? Yes, that's the energy I need. And so we are bringing up our very first speaker. Are you guys excited? All right, so let's get into it. Our very first speaker is Olebile Makupe. She is a transformative financial services executive with 25 years of expertise. She is the first female CEO of Bank Gaborone with skills and experience in banking, investment, and advisory services. financial risk management, and strategic business leadership. 𝐸𝐵𝐿𝐻 has international experience in financial markets across New York, China, South Africa, and Tanzania. She possesses strong relationships and stakeholder management skills and has demonstrated the ability to make business-shaping decisions. Having worked in international markets, she understands the challenges women face across multiple cultures as she's had to overcome them throughout her career. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please, with a warm round of applause, welcome 𝐸𝐵𝐿𝐻 Makupe, our very first speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Dumelang, that's what we say in my language. Dumelang. When these introductions are made about you, most of the time you wonder if people are really talking about you. Women in leadership. I'm going to talk to you today about a journey of resilience, a journey of curiosity, and a journey of pursuing your purpose. Let me start by, first of all, thanking Pastor Poju for creating this transformational platform where society-shaping ideas are shared. I've had the opportunity in just familiarizing myself with this platform to listen to previous speakers, all very inspirational, and they shared their personal stories and also strategies on propelling the great nation of Nigeria and the continent of Africa forward. I just wish we had more platforms like this in other countries as well, but it's a start. It's a really, really great platform. I'm also grateful that the platform saw it fit to bring somebody from all the way from the beautiful land of Botswana to Nigeria. I think it's actually fitting that you get to hear about Botswana. I know many of you haven't been. It's a really wonderful, wonderful country, and for many, many years, Botswana has been a beacon of democracy and good governance, setting a really good example for many countries across Africa. So we are the oldest democracy in Africa, and we had an opportunity to test that democracy last year when the populace voted to take out the ruling government at the time that had been in power for 58 years. So they were taken out of power last year, and it was a very smooth transition, and I think it again set a really good example for the rest of the continent that we need to create change. And this particular change was driven by socioeconomic challenges, primarily a downturn in the diamond market. The Botswana economy is very reliant on diamonds. So diamond prices have been plummeting and the country has taken a knock. And there was just a public desire for new leadership. The transition was very smooth, as I said, and for me, it's similar to what we need to do in corporate leadership. You know, a remake, a shift is often necessary in order to bring in what's needed for the time. So oftentimes, that change is forced upon us because we get too complacent. So for us in Botswana, that change was forced by what was happening in the economy, and people just felt it's time for us to do things differently. So I don't know if many of you know of an author called Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he wrote the famous book called A Man's Search for Meaning. And he says, adversity introduces a man or a woman to themselves. We can never really know our strength until we are faced with seemingly unsurmountable challenges. So I'm gonna tell you a personal story. So for me, my introduction to my true self happened at the age of 24. It happened very early. I fell in love with a really handsome, dark-skinned engineer. You could have mistaken him for a Nigerian. He was everything I wanted in a man. Regrettably, a few months later, through the thick veil of my tears, I watched as he walked away, leaving me alone and pregnant with my first child at 24. There I was, a giggly 24-year-old, and he was 28, and he said he was too young to have a child. He wasn't ready, and I was only 24. So we had some very nice hotel in Gaborone, sitting by the poolside. And after he left, I sat there for about an hour, just thinking about what I was going to do as a 24-year-old. How am I going to tell my mother that I'm having a child alone? And I just sat there for about an hour after he left. When I woke up after that hour, I was no longer a girl. I was a woman. I was suddenly faced with unexpected single motherhood and the burden of not just putting myself and this child. I just started working, not just putting myself and this child, but supporting an extended family as well. I think many of you might know that in Africa, you don't just carry yourself or your family. You also have a whole other people to take care of, the famous black tax. And as I got up, I discovered an inner strength that propelled me forward. That event actually turned out to be an inflection point in my life. And it started off a new focus and drive in me and introduced me to a version of myself I hadn't met before. I became very intentional about how I steered my life and also prioritized my life choices. We learned a lot more from our tough life experiences than the easier ones. 3 years down the line, by age 27, I had gotten on my employer's international graduate program, an experience which opened the world to me. It took me to places like Singapore, got to see Thailand, Dubai, London, and I built a strong network of international contacts through that experience. I sat on the trading floor of a bank in New York, the only black person on that trading floor. It wasn't easy. I remember one of the experiences, it was very international. One of the experiences that I had was, there was a call that came in. Like, there was maybe 300 people who worked on that floor. So a customer called and said they spoke to somebody with an accent. And the call was given to me. So I asked the guys, why am I the only person with an accent? I think everybody here speaks with an accent, you know. But because I was African and I didn't speak like that, but we have people like from Argentina, Colombia, who couldn't even string a sentence of English together, and they picked me. So those are some of the formative experiences that I had to go through at the age of 27. By age 30, drawing from that experience, I had achieved even more accolades and was on the verge of being part of the executive management of the bank that I worked for, while also building a great life for myself and my child. What this experience built in me was a strong sense of being unbreakable in a high-stakes environment. I built the skill of resilience. Resilience. You can't build it if you have a soft life. The resilience became the cornerstone of my professional ascent. My resilient mind could take any type of rejection, having been rejected that early in my life in such a dramatic way. And I could relentlessly go for what I wanted. So before I got on this international program with my employer at the time, they had rejected me previously on another one. And I took it in my stride, put my head down, outworked everybody around me, and focused on giving everything that I could in my job at the time. And I got on an even better program, which was an international one now. So in my social circles, because of the experience that I had in my work circles, I was the only person who had a child. So I rolled different. I navigated differently. My priorities were different from those of the people around me. So resilience is a key skill that has really helped me get to where I am in my career. And that spirit of resilience also fueled other skills as I continued to nurture my leadership skills. So I came across this fact. Apparently, as human beings, we have 600 possible skills. I've asked people this question: how many skills do you think you have as a human being? Nobody has given me a number above 10. But apparently, when you are born with the possibility of 600 possible skills. So just imagine if we are to nurture all the 600. We just choose which ones to nurture, which ones we want to be good at. But imagine if in a lifetime, you could actually explore all 600 skills. Do you know how I came across that wonderful revelation that we have 600 skills? Because one of the skills that I also cultivated over time is curiosity. I'm very curious about how the world operates, how others are wired, and how I am wired myself. I'm deeply interested in old and new information. A deep sense of curiosity can really open your mind to new opportunities, better ways of doing things, more effective ways to be a leader, and how you can also be the best version of yourself. Curiosity, therefore, is a skill worth nurturing if you really want to rise up in the world. Because as a curious leader, you continuously learn and can be more transformational in the way you lead. One of the areas that curiosity has taken me via is on artificial intelligence. So I actually did a course on what artificial intelligence can unlock in financial services. And way before COVID, the company that I worked for, my department, had already deployed several AI functionalities in the way that we did things. And because others had been skeptical about going into this, it opened up the possibility for the entire organization to start looking at AI differently. So we pioneered it and opened the way for others to actually follow. So curiosity is a key skill that I feel as budding leaders, you really need to cultivate. So I became an executive top 5 employee in the company that I work with a couple of months after my 32nd birthday. I was young and really, really scared. And that job thrust me into a new world, and a new world of high stakes, decision making, dealing with complexity, and also knowing that if I made the wrong decision, I could actually take this company down. The kind of job that I had was that sensitive, and I was 32. So needless to say, I had a very strong affliction of the famous IS. I don't know if you know that disease, IS. So more than not, when women suffer imposter syndrome, we usually think it's because we are not good enough or ready for the role that we've been assigned. But predominantly, the reason why we suffer imposter syndrome is because there aren't enough people in the room who look like us. Yes, seemingly the world has made a lot of strides in allowing a few of us to break the glass ceiling, but that's not the reality for most women, and we need to acknowledge that. It's an exception to find an all-women executive. In fact, people actually frown upon it. Yet an all-male board is a real thing. And these days, you'll see that they'll sprinkle a few women for diversity, to tick the diversity box. But the world hasn't really changed much for women. So when you get these top roles, you deal with a lot of obstacles, including people questioning how you got the role. They wonder, was it because of her looks? Was she dating the top guy? I've been accused of that. Nobody ever looks at what you've done, how hard you've worked. It's always about, what did she do to actually get that role, you know? And it further perpetuates the doubt that you have in yourself. So you then get obstacles, you know, like microaggressions, your ideas being discarded, as if you never spoke. So you'll be making a point, and then people don't actually listen to you. A man comes and makes the same point. They're like, oh yeah, we hear you. using the same ways that you used, and then a lot of mansplaining. You say something, then a man comes and says exactly the same thing that you were saying in a deeper tone. What I also experienced was, you get, in our environment, you get decision-making Mondays. Once you get that role, you take over from a man, the Mondays are reduced. You get lower decision Mondays, and there's also more oversight. So there's more bodies to oversee you. And at times you even get some of the board actually meddling in what you are doing. So once you face these daily infringements on your sense of worth, it starts getting eroded slowly. And to protect yourself, you either have to become a tyrant, and I often describe with a B word, or your confidence falls day by day until you become a shadow of yourself. In these moments, you need to realize that the biggest limitation isn't the external environment, but your own mind. That's what you need to manage. The mind conjures up our reality, and our actions then follow. Your mind goes somewhere, your feet follow. They follow your mind. So you need to be careful where your mind takes you. So we need to stop believing what the world actually tells us about ourselves and what you can do and cannot do. For me, this came from building an authentic me. Really knowing myself, who I am, and never letting go of the true fabric of my being. I know myself thoroughly, and nobody can come and tell me who I am. So they say the soul is the closest and best expression of the divine in human form. The soul, your soul is the best expression of the divine. So if you tamper with it or allow somebody to tamper with it, you'll feel the divide between you and your maker. So you always have to be true to yourself so that God can know you. Once you come with a fake self, God is not going to recognize you because he only knows what's deep inside you. So authenticity is a great trait that we should always protect. And it's at the core of maintaining who I am, how I make decisions, and how I lead. So another key skill that I nurtured in my career journey is curiosity. I followed my curiosity to China. I was based in China for 18 months. I led the China-Africa corridor team, and the aim was to provide financial services to businesses from China looking to start up in Africa and vice versa. I had to tap on my resilience, the resilience that I spoke about earlier, because the role wasn't an easy one. In fact, one could say sort of failed a little bit. The language was a problem, the race was an issue, China is very nationalistic, there were just all sorts of obstacles. And I could have given up and said, oh, yeah, this didn't work out. But that opportunity, by raising my hand and actually going to a country where I didn't speak the language, it opened more doors for me. I got noticed, and I was given assignments in Mauritius. I worked in Tanzania. I was in South Africa post the China experience. And I had the honor, because of the China experience, of being appointed as a young global leader with the World Economic Forum. All because I said yes. Yes, I'll go to China. So as they say, opportunity handled well leads to unexpected opportunities. Opportunity handled well. Whatever opportunity you get, if you handle it well, it opens the door to more opportunities. And I've seen that curiosity leads to, by being curious and just finding out how the world works and how you can improve yourself, it opens the door to what they call the mother of all the virtues, wisdom. As a growing leader, you need to respect and nurture your own wisdom. Wisdom has allowed me to sit patiently in a room and listen to someone, often a male of a certain color, tell me about my market and my business. Somebody based in another country tells me about my market, how it works, and because I've learned to be wise, I just sit there and listen. This wisdom has also allowed me to consider the opinions of gray-haired men. I'm a bit of a revolutionary, so I like trying new things and pushing the envelope. But as I got wiser, I've learned to listen to other people. I can listen there, my stomach will turn, I'll think this is so old-fashioned. But I know they've also seen the world. They've learned some lessons, and there's a lot that I can learn from them. Wisdom has taught me to self-reflect on how I come across to my team, to review at the end of the day which of my decisions were impactful, what I need to do more of, and what I need to do better. You get wiser also by reading books of old and new. I've read hundreds of books and learned a lot from the lessons and ideas of those who came before me and those who are exploring new frontiers. They say knowledge is normally hidden in books, and especially to the younger generation, if you don't read, you will not get better. You need to read. Wisdom is also learning about people that you meet. The most important value of a network isn't what people will think it is, where they think that your network will open doors for you, but rather who you become from having known those people as you build your wisdom. Which of your previously held perceptions or beliefs have shifted because you got to know someone? They changed the way that you look at the world. That's how I use my network, to challenge myself and my thinking. So I have my network retirees, I have rich people. I have those who have gone bankrupt, because you can learn a lot from them, and I've seen it all. And I have those who are still making something of themselves, and those who are still carrying a hopeful light in their soul. We learn from everyone. And that's how we nurture our wisdom. So wisdom is very important. You need to be wise, and you get wise by interacting with people and reading books. So my appointment to my current role as the CEO of Bank 𝐓𝐏𝐿 was a leap of faith. I was on track to head up the largest bank in Botswana, which also happens to carry the largest market cap on the local exchange. So my decision to leave that bank was not understood by everyone. But I felt called to join the smaller bank, and not because I doubted my ability to lead the bigger organization, but rather because I felt closer alignment to what I believe is my purpose in this world. So I chose an organization that I felt better represented my beliefs and what I think is important and what I want to bring to the world. We are all called to do something beyond just satisfying our basic needs and taking care of our families, and I think all of you will feel that. So for me, the most important thing was the ability to use this bank's resources and balance sheet to improve the lives of everyday people and provide access to resources to the previously marginalized. So the bank that I head up now strives to improve the livelihoods of people by building connections that bring positive change. That's our vision and our purpose. So this purpose really resonated strongly with me, with my soul. And the people who work there fully embodied this, and that's what I really, really loved. So when times get rough, as they often do, I remember, not by might, but by divine intervention, have I been accorded this opportunity. I never forget that. Finding my purpose and knowing, and for all of you as well, if you are to find your purpose in knowing you live not just for yourself, but to impact one life, 2 lives, will indeed give you the strength when you feel depleted. When you're really tired and want to give up, remembering your purpose and why you are there will give you that extra energy. It will be a compass for when you feel lost, and a sense of knowing you're in the right place and the right path. When dispersed, because we get despair in the workplace, like a dark cloud wants to darken your soul, then knowing why you are where you are will bring you back. And you should always know why you are in the organization that you join. If it's for money, you'll always feel lost. You need to know why you are where you are. So all of us, we need to find out why God put us where we are and what our impact on earth needs to be, because that's going to be your compass. So while I encourage all women to develop the virtues that make a strong transformational leader, which are resilience that I spoke to, curiosity about the world, authenticity and wisdom, and a strong conviction of purpose, I believe we also all have a responsibility to each other. Some of us here have managed to break the glass ceiling, the famous glass ceiling, and those of us who have, we hold the key to lifting up others and normalizing having representation of women in the C-suite that reflects the ratio of women in society. It doesn't make sense when you walk into boardrooms, we get sprinkled in for diversity, but it's not representative of how the world is actually made up. The demographics say 59-41, in some cases, more women than men. So in the workplace and in the C-suite, why can't we have that representation? We need to normalize it. And it's up to us to ensure that we actually do that. We need to create an opportunity to remove the obstacles that make it difficult for women to compete fairly in the world, especially in corporate. And for those of you who are aspiring to be leaders, we need to support other women around us and to hold up those who have managed to break through. We are sometimes our worst enemies as women. In fact, the most complaints that I get in my workplace about female leaders are made by other women. So let's all commit to be a girl's girl, you know, and give a sister a break, please. Just give a sister a break. We need to be clearing paths, making space, sharing space, making time for each other, and availing each other resources, making time to mentor and to celebrate one another. The more strength and autonomy that we are able to build within ourselves with true kindness to ourselves, the more we can generate this a surplus of love and joy and energy and upliftment and encouragement that you can then share with fellow sisters. So the investment, yes, starts with us internally, but let's build enough, let's fill our cup enough to be able to share with the world out there with other sisters. So while real change starts with developing our individual selves as a collective, we can achieve a lot more when we all come together. In Botswana, we started an organization of female leaders we call Lead Synergy. And it brings together female leaders and CEOs in the market with the aim of supporting each other in our leadership journeys, building a legacy of great female leadership with the aim of eventually empowering the next generation of leaders. Would it not be great if we have sister companies driving the same agenda across the continent, or actively sharing ideas and collaborating with existing ones if they already exist in other countries? So our collective intelligence as women across the continent can definitely propel us forward. And if you don't just look at our own countries, but look at what ideas we can borrow from other countries, then truly, as Africa, we can really rise. And that future depends on on the shoulders of women. That's my view. And in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, if we are ready to be really great people, we must strive in good faith to play a great part in the world. For you to be really great, it has to be beyond you. It has to be about playing a great part in the world. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's go be great and drive our continent forward. In political, corporate, and social leadership, let's see more women crafting the future of Africa together. Thank you.
You can do it better. You can do it better. Let's give a round warm of applause to Olebile Makupe. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much, ma. You may be comfortably seated. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very, very much, ma'am. All right. I hope you got a lot of things from that session. You got a lot of sound bites. So what you need to do now is post and use the hashtag #ThePlatformAfrica. Use the hashtag #ThePlatformAfrica. And also be sure to go to YouTube, the Platform NG. You will see the live link. Please take the live link and post it on your WhatsApp status and everywhere else, okay? Please ensure you post the link, the URL on your WhatsApp status. Please put your hands together once again for our beautiful speaker. Thank you very much, ma. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, ma. All right. So we're going to have the very next speaker. Are we ready? Are we super excited? No, you're not sounding like people that are excited to get the next speaker. Are you excited? Yes, yes. At the Platform Africa 2025, we have our next speaker. 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐭𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐦. 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐏𝐿𝐴 is a seasoned communications expert with over 20 years of experience. She is the director of 𝐓𝐿𝐴, a leading francophone digital platform dedicated to women's empowerment and president of 𝐸LENBA. She spent 13 years at the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and has also worked with other Pan-African institutions such as AEC. Specializing in strategic communication, crisis management, and brand positioning, 𝐓𝐴SATA is passionate about uplifting African women and spearheading initiatives that amplify their voices and impact various sectors. In recognition of her work, she has received several honors and awards for her contributions to media and women's empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and give a warm round of applause as we welcome our very next speaker, 𝐴SATA Sidibe.
Hello, hello everyone. How are you all today? I can't hear you. I mean, the MC was right. I don't feel the energy. I don't feel the love. This is the love for all these women, these beautiful women who came from Botswana, from Kenya, from Uganda, and me from Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you. Now I feel the love. Now I feel the love. Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to my sister who just went ahead of me. Beautiful story. And now I feel like I'm going to copy you because there's so many things that you said that. But we talked about sisterhood, right? So it's all about sisterhood. It's not copying. So I'm very happy to be here today. I'll start to say bonjour. As you know, I'm from Côte d'Ivoire. En Côte d'Ivoire, on parle français, but we also speak our national languages. And I'll say Ani Soroma, which is hello in one of our languages. So I'm excited to be here, and I'd like to thank Pastor Poju for this initiative. I think it's wonderful. I know it's the first for Platform Africa, and I hope it grows bigger because I believe that the future of Africa is all of us working together. Until we get there, we're not there. Until we all come together collectively as the others do, right? The others, the Asians, the Europeans, they work closer together. We, because of language and other reasons, ethnicity and all these different things, we decided that we can't always work together. So I hope this is a start to changing that. So thank you for having me today. I have my little phone here, and I'll need to scrunch my eyes to be able to see everything, but I'm sure it'll work out fine. So I'll start by speaking about something my sister spoke about earlier, which is imposter syndrome, okay? So I want you to picture me right here. 13 years ago, obviously younger, more beautiful, of course. Even beautifuler. But anyway, young, and me standing in front of a crowd of 1,000 people, right, at the IMF, at the International Monetary Fund, which is an institution for economists. So economists, you know, are very stern people, very serious people. They don't play, they don't joke. 60% of white men. Me standing in front of everyone, addressing the managing director at the time, Christine Lagarde. She's now head of ECB, if you know her. And thinking, what am I doing here? I was at the time the chair of the Staff Association. And if you can define imposter syndrome, that's exactly what I felt like. That was for me, that was imposter syndrome right there. I felt like I did not belong. Because I was a woman, I was black, I was African, I was young, I was not an economist. So, in a sense, it's almost like this was not my role to have. But I did a good job. for a whole year, and I got elected chair again the following year. So this is just to say we can claim the spaces. Even though some people believe we shouldn't be there, we deserve to be there. And that's what I say about, I debunked the myth about imposter syndrome, totally, 100%. Because I saw a video, I'm not gonna lie. It's not something that just came to me. But I saw a video about it, and the person was saying, it's something that others make you feel. Others make you feel like you don't belong. And that's why you feel that way. But in reality, if you're there, it's because you deserve to be in that room. You deserve to be there. If you're there, it's because you've worked hard. You got something right, for sure, for you to be at that table, for you to be in that room, for you to have that position. It's because you've done something right. So, lesson number 1 today. No more imposter syndrome for anybody here. We agree? No more. Now, let me introduce myself. I didn't introduce myself properly. So I'm 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐭𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐦. I'm a child of Africa. I was born in Chad. My parents are from Mali. I'm Ivorian by marriage now. And I lived in Senegal. So I've been in many, many African countries as well. I've been, I think almost out of 54, I've been to at least 20 African countries. And I'm here today with you in Nigeria, which is a pleasure for me. And I've had the opportunity to do all this through education, through my work. So if it's possible for me, it's possible for all of you. Well, not the part about being born, of course. That was just my parents. But all the rest is available to everyone. So for my second point, there's a little video that I'd like to play. It's short, don't worry. I know attention span these days is very short. When they told me 25 minutes, I was panicked. I was like, what am I going to say for 25 minutes? But then we all saw that it went quickly when the story is interesting. So the video.
First of all, if you want to be a leader, you've got to be a good listener.
Okay, that's still me.
That's the first thing. So if you want to lead, leading means you have people who follow you. Okay. So learn to listen and to absorb what you're being told and factor that into your leadership.
Can we play it again?
Lead at something you like.
Didn't start properly.
Don't enter just because you want to be a leader, but you actually need to feel a passion. First of all, if you want to be a leader, you've got to be a good listener. That's the first thing. So if you want to lead, leading means you have people who follow you. So learn to listen and to absorb what you're being told and factor that into your leadership. Lead at something you like. Don't enter just because you want to be a leader, but you actually need to feel a passion for what you want to do, because it's only when you feel a passion that you can be a good leader. So those are two of the, and try to have some fun whilst doing it. You know, you also need to be able to enjoy what you're leading.
So you'll tell us that economics is fun?
Oh, yeah. I know many people will not agree. When I started it, it wasn't fun. I didn't think it was fun.
I know I did a bachelor's in economics.
I know.
For me, the fun never came. So I moved to communication. So, applaud. You know who this is. I'm sure all of you know who this is, right? I didn't hear you. Yes! I think she deserves more than that. Thank you. So this is an interview that I did with Mrs. Ngozi, Dr. Ngozi. And she talked about being a leader and how, as a leader, we need to listen to others. And for me, that was something, you know, I never thought about it that way, right? We all say, oh, we're leaders, but do we actually really listen? Listen to what others are saying. Listen. And so that for me was key right there. And that factors into my second lesson of being a good leader. We need to be more resilient and versatile. So life is not linear, right? So you know that there's no straight path to your objectives. So for example, I see students here. So when you finish school, you expect that you'll find a job, a great job that you love, you'll find eventually the man of your lives, you'll have children. So, you know, this is what we all envision, right? This is the life that we all aspire to. This is the dream for, I think, almost everyone, right? But we know that that doesn't always happen. My sister here, you see what the story she told. She had a child at 24. I'm sure that was not part of her plan. So life is not linear. It's not always perfect. But that doesn't mean that it stops you from achieving your dreams. So you may get a bump in the road. You may have to take a detour. You may not get exactly what you wanted, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe it wasn't for you, or maybe it was for you, but you didn't work hard enough for it, right? So remember that. Life is not linear, and there are setbacks, and you just have to persevere, continue, sometimes take a different course that will maybe work out for you. This is what happened to me. When I finished my undergrad in, should I say the time? Because then you'll know my age. I don't know if I should talk about that here. But anyway, the year doesn't matter, right? It's all about the experience. So when I finished my undergrad, I wanted to join the IMF. That had been a dream of mine forever. Because as a child, my dad used to work at the IMF. And I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be an economist. I wanted to work at the IMF. I had gone to the building when I was a child. And for me, it was an amazing building. I saw all those flags, and it was huge. And I said, I want to work here. So I went to school, studied economics. And when I arrived at the IMF, economics didn't like me. That's just what happened. They told me, I had a 3.5 GPA. They said, no, to do economics, you have to have a 3.8. I said, okay, well, what next? Talk about bump in the road, right? That was not part of my plan. So I took another job there at the IMF. I worked first in human resources because that was what was available for me at the time. So I took that job and I worked there for 9 months. And then afterwards, a friend of mine told me, you know, you're looking for an actual job, because that was a consultant position, right? Not a consultant, a contractual, position. So it wasn't a long-term position. And a friend of mine said, well, you're really looking for a job. You want a position that will turn into a permanent position, a staff position. So why don't you apply? There's a communications assistant position that opened up in the communications department. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to do communications. Why would I do communications? I wanted to be an economist. I'm still trying to build to go towards my dream. Why are you trying to take me away from it? And then I spoke to different people, and they told me, look, you need to get your foot into the door. Just take this, and then eventually you'll see what can happen. And so I took the position. And I loved communications in the end. So economics didn't love me, but I ended up loving communications. So it worked out perfectly. So I ended up staying in the communications department for most of my career at the IMF. I worked in all various divisions. I did media relations, I did public relations, I did publications. I basically did almost everything that had to do with communications at the time at the IMF. And so from there on, I went to then, like I said, become chair of the Staff Association. But this is really to tell you that I stayed resilient through all of this, because at some point, when I didn't get the job that I wanted, I could have given up, right? I could have said, well, okay, let me go look elsewhere. But I said, no, you know what? This is maybe another opportunity. And she talked about opportunities, right? Sometimes an opportunity comes in a disguised form, right? It's not what you think it is. At the time, for me, it was like, okay, I just need a job. But it was an opportunity for me. It turned into an opportunity, into a real learning experience. And so sometimes you don't always see it, you don't always feel it, but it could be the opportunity of a lifetime. So keep your eyes open. Stay the course, stay the path, be resilient, adapt. That's also very important, adapt. Because lots of times we don't know how to do that. For me, at some point, I had to do 2 jobs in communication in order to get that job, that permanent job that I wanted. And I could have been like a lot of people say sometimes when you try to give them something that's not their job, well, no, that's not my job. That's not in my job description. Don't ever do that, please. Don't ever do that. Because you're passing an opportunity. You can be passing an opportunity. So now, when I employ people and people tell me that, I'm like, okay, come here. And you know what I say next. I'm not gonna go there. You can imagine. So that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3, have a mentor in your life. Have a mentor in your life. And I don't say that lightly, because mentoring has helped me tremendously. I came in an environment, like I said, economist, 60% male, very stern environment, and I wanted to look cute. You can imagine, right? I wanted to look cute, I wanted to wear my short skirts, I wanted to, wear my big earrings. And I had this lady, I love her to this day, a Sierra Leonean lady. Her name is Jamina Archer-Davies. And to this day, we're close. And she literally took me under her wing. She adopted me. And she was in management at the time at the IMF, and she told me, my dear, your skirt is too short. What are you doing? And I'm like, what, how is this short? This is cute. I didn't say that to her, of course, but in my mind I was thinking, what is she talking about? What does she know? But she was right. Because in that type of environment, when you were wearing those types of outfits, you didn't look professional. It's the reality. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, and things are changing now. But at the time, you're wearing short skirts, big earrings. You had some, I don't want to say crazy-looking hairstyle, but you were looking cute, is how I put it. Was not doing it. So if I didn't have her to guide me in that time, and for many other things, that's just one of the things that I'm talking about, but even for career development, she gave me tremendous advice on how to navigate the system, how to understand the environment, how to deal with people, how to even write emails in a professional manner. Well, I won't say a professional, in a IMF manner, because that's important. You need to adapt to your environment. Professional doesn't mean the same thing everywhere. It's different in different places. So have a mentor in your life. So make that, lesson number 3. Another point, I forgot to mention this. When you do have a mentor, I get this from a lot of young people. So when I go to events in Ivory Coast and I speak at events, people come to me and say, can you please mentor me? And I say, I'm sure at another time I would have loved to mentor you, but I don't know you. People have a tendency to go to people who are high level or people who are famous, or you don't need that. A mentor doesn't have to be famous. It doesn't have to be a status thing. A mentor just has to be someone who cares about you and who you care about, who has your best interests at heart, right? So it doesn't have to be a superstar. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be someone who's popular. No, it can be someone in your environment, in your direct environment, okay? So but make sure you get a mentor, whether it's professional or even sometimes personal, because that person can also guide you. You probably already have a mentor. You don't even know it. You probably have your mom or an aunt or a cousin or somebody who gives you good advice, right? Right? Oh, I'm not sure anymore. I thought it was myself, by myself in this room. So let that be lesson number 3. Lesson number 4, your network is your net worth. Did you get that? I tried to be smart about it. So I hope you got it, right? So network is your net worth. The network that you keep will define where you go. And by network, I don't mean, once again, knowing celebrities or high-level people. It's not about that. Your network starts as early as kindergarten. The people you went to school with, they're all in your network. The people you go to university, they're all in your network. Your friends from the neighborhood, they're in your network. But are you even using them? Are you even keeping touch? Oftentimes we don't think of those people as a network. We get into the job environment and then immediately we look to, I don't know, maybe a manager or, you know, you try to create now a network with only the people in your work environment. Meanwhile, you have other people. The day you're looking for a job, right? You're not gonna go to the people in your job to look for another job, right? You need your other network. That's the network I'm talking about. The one that you sometimes ignore or that you're not aware of. So you start building your network early on. And once you have that network, you also have to maintain it, right? It's not just about calling someone 10 years later, oh, by the way, I heard there's a job in your institution, can you recommend me? No, they'll be like, who is this? It's not about that. It's about maintaining relationships. I'm not saying that you should maintain relationship with every single person you meet. That's not what I'm saying, sorry, if that's what it seems like. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're useful relationships or friends that you have. Just keep a good relationship with them. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so that makes me feel better. So, but like I said, and I'm going to give you an example of that. You see this interview I did with Ngozi, Dr. Ngozi. It wasn't random. Dr. Ngozi's communication director is my former colleague at the IMF. But he left the IMF in, I left the IMF in 2015, and then he eventually left in 2019. But we stayed in touch. And so he's the one who called me, because we've been in touch all this time, right? We share opportunities, we talk about different things. And when Dr. Ngozi was coming to Ivory Coast, he called me and he said, look, I have this thing for you. I'm like, what? Tell me. And he said, she's coming, I think you should interview her. And I said, oh yeah, that would be wonderful. And that's how we organized it. Imagine this friend, colleague. I had ignored him, not spoken to him. Would I have gotten this opportunity? No. So maintain your relationships, stay in touch with people, and build your network early on. So that's lesson number 4. Lesson number 5, be the change that you want to see, right? I don't know if you know what that means. Be the change that you want to see. So in 2015, I'm going to illustrate that. In 2015, when I moved to Ivory Coast, after finishing my career, ending my career at the IMF, it was a whole, I moved to Ivory Coast, it was a whole new scenery. And when I started my first job, it was difficult for me because I had a boss who didn't like me very much. And that happens. Sometimes the sisterhood is not real. I will tell you that too. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not real. Sometimes it can go really bad. So this boss didn't like me, and I didn't like her back, by the way, so it was mutual. But she started it, by the way. She really did, but anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. But so we did not get along, and it was a terrible first experience for someone coming back, right? I had to adapt to so many different things. Imagine leaving a structured institution and coming to work with it was a public, more like a public sector type of project, and then I had to get my brain, rewire my brain to now work in French, right? Because I was working in French. That was another big struggle. But all that wasn't the reason we didn't get along, but we didn't get along. And in the end, what happened was when I left there, I was a bit traumatized. I'm not gonna lie, I was traumatized. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, this is terrible. How do people deal with, you know, you're in the workplace and you have a boss and you don't get along. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? And there's no one to help, because we know in Africa, hierarchy is everything. Hierarchy is everything. You cannot speak when you're not. Okay, so in my mind I was thinking, I can imagine all these women struggling in environments where they cannot express themselves. I had the chance to be able to leave. I found another job and I left. But some people sometimes don't feel that they can leave, they need the money, they just have to be there. And so what do these people do? And this is why we created, in 2018, an NGO, 𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴 Women. It's called actually 𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴 Women in Action, because we wanted our actions to be concrete. We wanted things to be done on the ground. We wanted to be doing things on the ground, sorry. We didn't want to just, you know how, you know about those NGOs, right? The ones that have the name and then you never see what they do. But then they're always asking for money, but never see anything that they do. But anyway, I'm not criticizing anybody, okay? I'm just saying. So we wanted to really act. So the resources that we get are put into the actions that we take. And so that was something, we were intentional about that. So 𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴 Women in Action came from this experience that I had. So I went to my girlfriends and I told them, I want to do something for other women. What can we do for other women? Well, how can we help other women? Initially in my mind, I really wanted it to be for women in the workplace. And then they told me, you know, we sat down one day, you know, women being women, they came up with 1,000 ideas. And I'm like, we're not gonna do all that. We need to focus. Let's come up with things that are actionable. So we came up with something that had to do with women empowerment, empowering young girls through awareness raising and things like that. So that's what we did in 2018. We have 17 members now. They're all working women, right? We're all working women, all professionals. But we dedicate our time. We have several volunteers as well, but we dedicate our free time, I'm not gonna say all our time, but our free time to really helping women to empower themselves. So that's what I mean when I say be the change that you wanna see. So if you see something that's not working, you can take action. Sometimes we feel like, no, I can't do anything. It's just me by myself, what can I do? No, you can always do something. You can always do something. Now, I want to play video number 2. Am I still in time? I feel like now I've spoken for 45 minutes. Video number 2.
This is for scaling. Number 1,
no, not
you
this one.
have to have a business
Not
model
this one,
that's
sorry.
demand-driven.
That's the last one.
Not being the one and the only one.
Exactly.
At least the woman is bringing the others and hoping that they perform well. And this is what I say to all women. Please, since there are not so many, if you get a leadership post, try to work as hard, give it your best. Right. Because if you don't, you may prevent other women from being brought in.
I don't know. Were you able to hear that well? Okay. What did she say? I can't hear you. Did you hear what she said about success? Is bringing the other ones in? Okay, yeah, because that's the important part too. Success is bringing the others with you. It's not just you, yourself, and that's it. It's really what can you do to empower others? And this is what we've tried to do with the creation also of this NGO, is bring others with you. You've achieved, but what are you leaving? What are you leaving behind? What is the mark that you want to leave when you die? God forbid, nobody wants to talk about death today, but when you're no longer here, you would have wanted to leave a mark, something that you did for others. We all do for ourselves, right? We do for ourselves already. But how do we help others? And that's important. And it's not something just for the Mother Teresas of the world. It's a lesson for all of us, especially as Africans, because I know we don't do enough of that. We don't bring the others with us. We feel like when we get to the top, no, you stay behind. I don't want you to come and compete with me. No, that's not the way we should be thinking. We should be thinking, everybody in life has their own luck, has their own star. Your star is not my star. Even if I bring you along, your star will not shadow my star. It'll make us stronger. So when you're thinking, because I know a lot of people think, sometimes even myself, it can come to my mind like, oh, if I bring that person, they might. It's true, some might do it. But at the end of the day, let them. Let them. They won't stay long. Because if they're a traitor to you, they'll be a traitor to another person who'll bring them down. Remember that. So don't hesitate to help the others, bring the others. If you have a friend, recommend her for a job. If you know someone who can do something, don't in your job. You get a task, and somebody else can help you do the task. Don't hesitate. It doesn't really matter, because this is what we are, and this is the entire issue that we have. And I don't want to say just in Africa, in general. People don't want to bring others with them. They're afraid of what, they will shadow them. So stay away from that, right? Success is opening the door for others to come through. So am I still within time? I've gone over time, right? Huh? I have what? I have what? Oh my God. Okay, bye. No, I'm just kidding. What? No, I'm not going to leave like that. No, I'm just going to say my final points quickly, and then I'm going to go. You were right. 25 minutes is not enough. I need 2 hours minimum. No, so lesson number 6 is really go digital or die, right? We need to go digital. Today, there's no way that you're going to say you're not somewhere. Whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, just be somewhere. And not twerking, please. Not dancing, please. Not just looking cute, please. With meaning, with purpose. Bringing something to others, okay? We agree? You can look cute while doing it. I try to do that sometimes. But always with purpose. You hear, young students, I see you there. You're looking at me. Are you sleeping or are you listening? You're listening? Did you hear what I said? What did I say? No twerking on social media, okay? And then I'll leave it at that since I've been so long. But thank you very much for having me. And may the fight continue for us women. Thank you.
Let's do it better. Let's put our hands together for our amazing speaker, 𝐓𝐴𝐶 Sidibe. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. God bless you. Okay, you can all be comfortably seated. Thank you. Wasn't that an amazing conversation? Wasn't that brilliant? Please put your hands together for her one more time. Thank you so much. Madam, pensez, discuss incroyably. Put your hands together for me. She understood what I just said. We've gone Africa. This is Platform Africa. Do you get this? So you need to expand beyond your horizon, okay? So learn some French. All right, so Multimedia is going to give us a short video. Media, are you ready? Let's just watch this.
Thank you for the good news. Thank you for the gospel of our Lord Jesus. Father Lord, as we take this gospel, even behind bars, to those who have been incarcerated, separated from their loved ones, we ask, oh God, that this message will bring hope to them.
Can somebody just wrap your hands around you and just bask in this revelation? Better tell him. No throne without the cross. There'll be no sacrifice without your blood. All this you did for me. Lift it up. No throne without a cross. There's no sacrifice without your blood. All this you did for me.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So we just concluded our Easter Love Fiesta with the inmates at Ikoyi prison, and this is our 9th year in prison ministry, and it's always a blast. So today we preached the word, we prayed for the sick to get healed, they were delivered from sicknesses, diseases, the molestations of the enemy, and we took the Holy Communion, which is called the Holy Eucharist, and we thank God for everything He has done. So we just want to say thank you for everyone that has made this a success.
So today is a Good Thursday. What is it called?
Yes, Good Thursday, Holy Thursday.
Okay, Holy Thursday.
Yeah.
And of course, it's Easter season 2025, and we've had the privilege of partnering as a Covenant Nation Lekki with Beats by Manny.
Yeah.
And it's really been a rare privilege coming to fellowship with inmates here at Ikoyi prison, and it's really just been an opportunity to see how God's love truly can reach the deepest part of any corner of where humanity is. It's been a privilege to be able to bring the word of God to them, and also to share with them, you know, by way of giving them things that can help them at this season. And it's such a privilege to see what Beats by Manny has done. Thank you so much, Manny, for all that you have done, you know, for these inmates. Over the last 9 years, she's been doing this consistently, coming here week in, week out, and being a blessing to these men. Thank you for pouring your heart into it. Thank you for pouring the entirety of yourself into being a blessing to this man. And we've seen what God is doing. So many people gave their lives to Christ today. I believe people got healed.
Yes, over 60 people.
Over 60 people got healed. So I saw a lot of ages, young boys, 17-year-olds.
Yes.
I was shocked.
So sometimes they even bring 15. So we also fight to take them out, because the 15-year-olds are not supposed to be here. Yeah, so we take them out. Yes, to the proper correctional center for them.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together once again for the Convened Nation, for that brilliant initiative. Thank you, and God bless you. Once again, remember, note your questions, okay? And please remember to use the hashtag #ThePlatformAfrica, and also post the YouTube link on your status. Are you ready for our third speaker all the way from Uganda? Are you ready? We're just warming up. So we're gathering energy now. Are you ready for our third speaker from Uganda? Excellent. So we are having Jocelyn Katiba. She is the managing director of Crest Foam Limited, a position she has held since February 2015. Prior to Crest Foam, Jocelyn worked for nearly 4 years with global power company Cummins and 4 years at a global strategy consulting firm Bain & Company. She holds an undergraduate degree from the University of Warwick, an MPhil in Management Studies from University of Cambridge, and an MBA from Harvard Business School. 𝐏𝐿𝐴 is a non-executive board member of Uganda Manufacturers Association, NCBA Bank Uganda Limited, 𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐶𝐞 Poultry International Limited, and a member of the advisory board of Total Energies Marketing Uganda Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise on your feet and give a warm welcome to our guest from Uganda, 𝐏𝐿𝐴 Katiba. You can do it better, you can do it better.
Good morning. I want the same energy you gave everyone else, huh? So please. What an absolute honor to be here. An absolute honor to meet the other speakers. It is truly, truly a privilege. I want to thank Pastor Ojo and obviously the Covenant Church for this amazing opportunity. An opportunity for us as leaders, female leaders on the continent, to come here and actually just take a moment to reflect on our journeys, but more importantly, to actually, hopefully, impact, all the other women on this continent. So I hope today, when I share my story that actually has a common thread with what you've already heard, you will hopefully pick something that will resonate with you. As, let me just see if I had a few slides, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get this right. Let me see. Sorry? Perfect. Thank you so much. And I thank you for that introduction, so I won't spend time on that. I'll go right to the next one. Let's see. Am I doing this right? There we go. Just as the lady that introduced me mentioned, I've had the great privilege, truly great privilege, of having world-class education. And I want to tell you that prior to actually taking on this role, I had had a couple of years of what I call really amazing success. So when I was at University of Warwick, I actually majored in mathematics and statistics, and we were only 2 female Black African ladies that were in that class. And the other lady was 𝐓𝐿𝐴. She's actually in London. She's an actuarial scientist today. And myself, and we were first-class students. And we were top of our class. And I remember my professor telling me that the other professors came out at the graduation ceremony to see who were these African girls that had taken on mathematics the way we did. And so what I want to share is that up until, I guess, the time I took on 𝐶RESFORM, I actually honestly did not understand what failure truly meant. And, I had that first-class degree, then I went into Cambridge. I also excelled. My thesis actually was shortlisted to be published. I was begged to stay behind to publish it. I refused. I was just a little bit stubborn and maybe a bit arrogant. I went straight into employment. I actually had 2 offers. I had Goldman Sachs London, then I had Bain Johannesburg. I chose Bain. I love Johannesburg. I still love Johannesburg. But I will say that my entire career, was just exactly how you would write out a fairy story, where you're just going from success to success to success. I went to Cummins, I did well. I was shortlisted. We were 2 Africans, Tosin Tomori and myself, that were the very first Africans to be shortlisted for an executive program run by the CEO of Cummins. And, I was just, always on a very strong streak. And I remember, prior to that, actually, when I was going to Harvard Business School, one of the essay questions was, write about a time where you have failed. And honestly, I didn't understand, first of all, why that was important. And then secondly, I just honestly could not find anything to write about that was actually being asked of me. So fast forward, I take on the role from my mother. I decide to become MD of 𝐶RESFORM, a family business that had been, up until this point, I think, a reasonably strong business. We'd been in business for about 28 years when I took on 𝐶RESFORM. And, when I came in there, I was ambitious. I felt ready. I had worked on the continent. I had worked outside of the continent. I had the education. I had been told that I was amazing. I mean, really, honestly, what could go wrong? what can go wrong? I had read the book, The First 90 Days. I had the plan. I had, defined my big, hairy, audacious goal. For those of you who read a lot of business books, that BHAG, I had it. It was very clear to me. I had all the mathematical KPIs listed. Everything was clear. Within 1 month of me taking on this role, we had a devastating fire. Devastating. And I will tell you, that fire shook our family to the core. I don't think I had, up until that time, maybe prior to that, the loss of my father had really shocked me tremendously. I was 15 when I lost my dad. But that fire, I felt that fire. And the reason I felt it so deeply was not just about the assets that we lost, because we did lose a lot. $2 million worth of assets. That wasn't the reason. It was the 6 lives that we lost. People that we knew. My mother's personal driver. I cannot tell you, unless they say if you've not walked in someone's shoes, you can't really understand. I can assure you, you can't understand. It wasn't just about how public this incident was, because that didn't make it easier. Everyone was talking. People assumed that the factory actually was owned by Indians, and so they went all out with the insults, with all these guys have actually burned themselves, they intended this, it's an insurance fraud kind of thing. And then there were members of parliament, it was election period, that needed to make an example of us and try to profiteer from this event. I had to deal with multiple stakeholders. But let me tell you some of the things that I learned. The first thing, a skill. I think the first speaker talked about we are born with many skills. I realized during this horrific incident, certain skills that I had probably taken for granted. The first skill was my ability to compartmentalize. And the first time that skill was when I was actually a senior 3 student in high school, when my dad passed away. And I remember coming home after that term with an amazing report. I think I was in top 3 of my class. And my mom said, how is it even possible? How did your father passing away not really impact your grades? And I just realized, I just knew how to compartmentalize. And I used to tell my friends, when I leave home, I leave my heart at the gate. And then I go out into the world. And then when I come back home, I pick up my heart. And then I can deal with what I need to deal with. So when that fire happened, let me tell you the first thing I did. Oh, by the way, the fire happened when I was in Johannesburg with my mother. We were actually checking her in for total knee replacement in the hospital. She actually had already, we were supposed to have surgery that day. And that's when we were told, and so we had to fly back immediately. And, so when the fire happened and I came home, I brought out all my best suits, all of them. I became like, a crazy woman. I put on my best clothing because I realized I needed to show up. I needed to show up not for the public, but for my team. I needed, because all my employees were looking at me. Everyone was scared. They were emotionally traumatized for losing their friends, but they were worried. What next? Do they have no jobs? Like, what happens to them? They were not ready. And so I put on that suit and I got out there. I lost a lot of weight, but I got up, I showed up. And if you've heard that saying, I think it was Churchill, do not let a good crisis go to waste. I don't think I really spent time thinking about that, but when I look back, truly, it is true. Do not let a crisis go to waste. I think we were fortunate that we had taken some measures. We had actually just renewed our insurance policy and paid for it fully with UAP Old Mutual. They showed up in ways that I can tell you were unprecedented. That day, the next day, they came as a team and they wrote us a check for $1 million and they said, we'll sort the rest out later. Our suppliers flew in from far and wide, including Dubai, the UK as well, because they were traumatized. They had assets. We had a lot of, chemicals that got, burnt and destroyed. And so they came to understand and assess what this meant for them. Our bankers stood with us. The Revenue Authority even came as a team and met with us. And I can tell you, we went through a very devastating episode of our lives, but maybe because of some of the good things we had done, I can tell you a lot of that came back at a time when we needed it. We had people do pro bono work for us. Pro bono. The structural engineers, they came through and just said, you know, don't have to pay for this, we'll just do this and find out what's the impact on your structure, how much do you need to repair. We had a lady that runs an environmental agency, and she came and, you know, helped us do the assessments that were needed pro bono. We had a communications guru take on our public relations pro bono. And I want to believe a lot of that is back to, you know, some of what has been said before. The networks that you build, how you show up and how people think about you. People will show up for you in ways you cannot imagine. Let me just see. Trying to figure out how to work this. Ooh. Sorry, I'll just move on and maybe get someone to help me navigate to the next one. Okay. I want to pivot to some of the points that were raised around networks. And I have 2 slides that talk to this. For me, going back from that episode and just learning the power of relationships, came the next thinking. What are the tables that you are sitting at today? You know, because remember, I had been gone away from Uganda for more than 2 decades, actually, about 2 decades or just a little bit over. And these people showed up, not really because of me, more because of what my mom, who had been managing this business, had actually done. They showed up for her. And so I started understanding the importance of relationships. So for me, it sort of sits in 2 things. The first bucket is, what tables are you sitting at today? And these are tables, some of them are formal tables. They mentioned that I sit on a couple of boards. And I sat on other boards that I no longer sit on, some of them public sector and some private sector. I have been invited to those tables. But how did I even get there? So when I first moved back to Uganda, I quickly realized that, you know, my social network, my formal network was lacking. And then I intentionally, I think the speaker that was before me talked about mentors. I intentionally sought out a mentor. This lady, Barbara Mulwana, this lady has been a godsend to me in many ways. I feel that the first thing she did was she opened a door for me. And then when she opened it, she didn't open it hesitantly. She opened it widely. And what I mean by that is, not only did she introduce me to certain tables that I sit at, the NCBA board being one of them, and she actually gave me a choice. There was NCBA and then Citibank, and I won't tell you why I chose the other, but I will tell you that it was about fit. So I recognize that in the first speaker's comments around choosing opportunities not for money, but sometimes for what really resonates with you. So, you know, I was intentional about seeking Barbara. We didn't know each other at all. I sought a meeting with her. I remember her thinking, okay, whatever, you can come over my office at lunchtime. I got in there, we started talking, and the truth is, your mentor has to be someone you have chemistry with. I think that's the only way it's going to really work. We instantly became friends, truly. We just saw each other. We just recognize each other for who we are, the aspirations we have, and the values that we live by. And I think for us, it was just like, where have you been? And that was the end of it. So my mentor has, you know, done a lot in terms of just by, you know, leading by example, opening those doors, as I mentioned, wide, and being really there to coach and support. I will say that once you get these opportunities, which she actually gave me, including sitting on the Uganda Manufacturers Association, I quickly realized that when you have the opportunity to sit at a table, then make use of it, truly. And what does that mean? You need to show up. Show up in terms of impact. You know, when I sit at boards or even in my informal tables, I'm always seeking, what can I do to improve things here? How do I proactively move things, have that impact, or introduce or, change the thinking? I'm constantly thinking about what value can I bring here? And the reason why this is important and why I bring it is, it's one thing to be invited to sit at a table, but for you to keep that table will depend on how others feel your presence there was valuable. If people don't feel your value, you will lose that seat at the table. So for me, when you're thinking about, the networks and how you're building them, ask yourself, you want to take a lot from others. What is it that you are giving back? How impactful is what you're giving? And then the other thing is, don't overthink it. I feel like sometimes, we want to be so brilliant in the ideas that we bring forward. I don't think that that's actually necessary, because when you overthink things, you actually are spending time, wasting time, and yet there's some things that might be so obvious to you that are not obvious to the next person. So I feel like all you really need to do is just, when you're sitting at this table, be present and lean in and truly just engage. And don't hesitate, don't hold back. You see something, just say it. Because ultimately, you could actually change the trajectory of things. So, what tables are you sitting at? Very important. Just going on to the next slide. Then you have the other thinking around who is at your table. So then the other point was around the tables you're invited to. But there is also the other issue of you can create your own table. So, at the company that I lead, I have that opportunity because I can hire employees, I can on-board and off-board. And then obviously this includes not just my leadership team or the teams below, but more importantly, what I have come to appreciate is the importance of a good board. Honestly, if you're managing a business, you need advisors. There's just no two ways. God is amazing in how he has created the human being. There is absolutely no way that you know everything. I don't care what amazing degrees some of us have had or opportunities to work in amazing places. If you do not find a way to actually have your set of advisors and ensure that they bring a very diverse and highly experienced depth of experience in areas that you're probably lacking or maybe not just good enough, honestly, I feel like you're missing out. So for me, my advisors, both formal and informal, have played a tremendous role in developing me to be the leader that I am today. And I constantly lean on them. I constantly remind them about the things that they have done for me. So please, as you look at designing your tables, be very thoughtful, on where you're spending your time, how you're, having a positive impact when you do it, and more importantly, how you show up. I think I'll go to the next slide. I'm going to pivot to another important reflection for myself, and this is the weight of difficult decisions. I think all of us can relate with this one, and for me, this one I'll center it around my values. I have come across a lot of opportunities in not just the last decade, but, in my life. But many times I have had to turn away from those opportunities simply because they just don't fit with my value system. There was an instance recently when a big tender went out. I mean, this tender was going to be like life-changing for us. Thousands of mattresses, to the, I think it was the army actually. And then some guys came and they were whispering things to my mom and saying, if we do this, we can do this for you, we can ensure that you win. And I turned to my mom and I'm like, I hope you don't forget who we are. This sounds great and it could solve many problems, but this is not who we are. There is money that I would turn away from. And the reason for that is many things. It's just simply the right thing to do. But the reality is, quick fixes will put you in real trouble. So if you make mistakes around, slipping your way up for a role, or those things will burn you eventually. There's no two ways. Whatever happens in the dark, trust me, is going to come out in the light. It is just a question of time. So for me, when it comes to difficult decisions, even if it includes also letting go of long-serving employees, and I can assure you, this one has been the hardest one. I have had to let go of people that have worked at our factory for over 20 years. Can you imagine the difficulty of those, conversations even? Initiating them, having them, living through them. Very difficult. But at the end of the day, I always go back to, was I fair? Did I give opportunity? Was I transparent? And if at the end of the day, people are just simply not aligned with where they need to be, then I have comfort that I have made the right call. So difficult decisions range from opportunities to actually also sometimes looking like the bad person in the room. But be decisive and just do what needs to be done. And I'll finish with one last key lesson. This job that I have been, having for the last 10 years has taught me what humility truly looks like. Like I mentioned, I only shared with you the one incident, but I can tell you I have had many. I'm telling you incidents where you are shaken to the core, where you feel you understand finally when they say it is lonely at the top. This job has done that for me. It has shown me that, there will be instances in your life where you think, you know it all, and then you are humbled, and you recognize there's a greater power, and that you need to just calm down. This job has done that for me. And I am grateful for those lessons, because I think now that I am where I am, I couldn't be a better version of myself. I've learned to be very, very open-minded. I'll give you one last story on this one. About 3 years ago, we discovered a massive fraud, another incident that again shook me crazy. Because remember, I'm the mathematician. I'm doing all the reconciliation. I have the board packs. You should see my board packs. Actually, I don't think anyone in Uganda produces better ones. I'm sorry. The depth of research, the depth of understanding of my sector. I used to chair the form sector, so you can be sure I have that understanding. But wow, even with all that, I had a fraud on my watch. Over $1 million lost. Money that I hadn't even given myself or my family as dividends. Some people just, they walked with it. They walked away. We even know their assets. Nothing we can do. Nothing. When we discovered that fraud, we then reminded our workers about the importance of our whistleblowing. And one employee, shop floor level, for those who are in manufacturing, you know what I mean. These are like your junior employees. He told me, "Madam, I need to meet you." We met outside the office. This gentleman, I like writing when I'm listening because I talk too much, so I need to write so I can shut up. And I pulled out my phone and I'm like typing. This guy lectured me for 1 hour. 1 hour, and I'm not exaggerating. And in that time, I learned of another fraud. I was still shaken by this other $1 million one. Then he told me of another one that now included a head of department, someone I employed and empowered, someone I brought on my table. And he showed me how this person had orchestrated an amazing fraud. So what am I trying to say here? We need to be, as leaders, approachable. We need to listen. I think that was said earlier. But when you're approachable, people will tell you things. They can even give you ideas about, a product improvement, anything. And I have found so much, I would say, resource or insight by just being humble and just listen. And so we had to get rid of that head of department and 2 other people that were also senior in the organization because of that one junior employee who helped us. And I want you to know that once these frauds were taken away, our gross margin and EBITDA shot up. We were busy looking scientifically how to improve things, what product lines we need to be more efficient. Meanwhile, we were bleeding. We didn't even understand where the true problems were. So, in brief, I would say that the power of being a good leader will come really honestly from learning from others. And you have to find a way. You have to find a way to harness all of that. And just lastly, in conclusion, leadership. What is leadership? It's truly about choices. We have choices. The first choice you have to make is to become self-aware. I have had to look myself in the mirror. Be self-aware. I know myself. I'm talkative. I'm assertive. I'm even intimidating on a good day. That is on a good day. I'm also very argumentative. I'm actually quite competitive. I know that. And therefore, like I said, because I know that, when I walk into a room, I try to be intentional. If I want to really get the most out of that conversation, I'm going to sit down and get my notebook, keep quiet and listen. Then I try to switch on. Let me probe. For you, what do you think? You tell me why. Why? Because I'm trying to pack myself. So leadership is about choices. Learn about yourself and see how you come through. The relationships that we have are going to inform our journey. You cannot do this alone. God has ensured that you cannot. And if you think you can, well, what a shame. You are missing out on something. Openness. Openness is just, it's going to fuel our growth. I have found that just being vulnerable, it's such a release. I can sleep well. I have no problem. And lastly, a good leader knows that you have to continue learning. And therefore, I am truly a work in progress, and I embrace it. So please, whatever feedback, I am very keen to get it, because I know that I can only get better by just being willing and open, truly. And with that, I want to stop here, and thank you once again. I appreciate this opportunity.
Let's give her a round of applause. Let's do it better. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Madam Jocelyn Katiba, all the way from Uganda. You can do it better. Thank you. Thank you. You may be comfortably seated. I'm doing my absolute best not to recap the speaker sessions because they are all giving us mind-blowing methods that we can use for life. Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you. All right, now without waiting, we're moving to our special guest from Kenya. Are you ready? Wow. All right, so we have the pleasure and the honor of having Dorothy Getuba-Pala. She is a media executive, entrepreneur, and creative force dedicated to amplifying African stories on the global stage. In 2009, she co-founded Spielworks Media, one of East Africa's pioneering film and television production companies. Dorothy joined Netflix in 2019 as a creative executive and rose to become Director of Content for Africa. Overseeing both original and licensed films and series, championing authentic African storytelling for audiences around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise on your feet as we welcome all the way from Kenya, Dorothy Getuba-Pala.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a seat, please, as I open my... What an absolute pleasure it is to be here today. Thank you so much, Pastor Poju, for this invitation. I want to take this moment to thank your lovely wife, Pastor Toyin, for this privilege. I also want to take a moment to thank all the workers of the Covenant Nation who have worked hard to make this happen. Specifically, and I said I want to point this out, the protocol team are fantastic, they're outstanding, and they are worthy of being mentioned. I say that I arrived in Lagos, and I said, this is probably how Vice President Kamala Harris felt. I arrived at Murtala Mohammed Airport, I blinked, and I was in my hotel room. That is how I'm telling you. I asked for 1 banana, they gave me 4. They are not playing. I want to share with you a story, but before I do, I want to say that I stand before you today not as an employee of a high net worth media company, nor a woman defined by any professional title, but simply as a woman on a healing journey. The reflections I share with you today are deeply personal. They're drawn from my own experiences and my insights, and they speak to the human journey beyond external achievements. Guys, I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing. I sat in the aeroplane waiting for it to take off. The cabin lights felt blinding and the air felt too thin. I grabbed my phone. I stumbled into the aeroplane bathroom. My hands were shaking. In that tiny stall, even before we left the ground, and I called my then best friend. I cannot do this, I cried. Next, I called my husband in tears. I said, if I take this flight, my voice was trembling, I think I will die. If I take this flight, I said over and over again, I think I will die. I was not being dramatic. I truly felt my body and my mind were shutting down from exhaustion. The flight attendants closed the cabin doors as I emerged from the toilet, and I sat on my seat. And then suddenly, I stood up again and I walked to the front of the airplane. One look at my face, and the head purser knew something was wrong. I'm feeling very sick, I said. What is wrong? Is it your body? Is it your mind? Where does it hurt? She asked gently. I looked at her, I said, everywhere. And then I burst into tears. She asked me gently, everywhere? Where? In a blur, the crew made a decision. They reopened the doors of the plane. My suitcase was pulled from the overhead bin as I sat on the jump seat, cheek wet with tears. Everybody staring. I was sobbing hysterically as I found a wheelchair and carefully placed me on it and wheeled me out. I was utterly depleted and I was deeply, deeply embarrassed. On the ride home from the airport, I cried at the back of the fancy black Mercedes-Benz. I cried uncontrollably. I feel like I'm dying, I told the driver over and over again as I hunched over. Waves of panic and fatigue crashing down. I think I am dying. He looked at me. This poor man, I tell you, he didn't imagine that morning when he woke up that his day would go like this. I got super hysterical and he panicked and he pulled over on the highway. At this very moment, I got sick. I threw up. I vomited all over the nice clean mat with the nice Mercedes-Benz logo. Crying, I apologized. I said, I will pay for you to clean it up. And finally, when he got me home and I walked through the door, I didn't even have the strength to speak to my kids. I walked past my husband, literally on all fours. I crawled up the stairs, collapsed into bed, and slept for 3 days straight. This was my first real experience with burnout. It had hit me as I was about to chase yet another work commitment, and it had stopped me dead in my tracks, literally grounding me before takeoff. Now, you would think that this dramatic episode would have been the end of the story. A clear sign that something in my life had to change. However, just 10 days later, I was back at the airport, boarding another flight, this time a private jet, heading off to the fray, too exhausted even to take a selfie. I dozed off as I stared out of the window, because that's what we do, right? As high achievers, correct? We keep it moving. We bounce back. We slap on a smile. and we tell ourselves it's just a momentary blip. I told myself, I'm fine. I just need to toughen up. I plunged back into work as if nothing had happened. A couple of years later, last year, burnout visited me again, and this time with a vengeance. One evening last July, after many months of relentless pressure at work, I walked into a meeting. A colleague said to me she had important information to share with me. She spoke, and I listened in a daze, and then something in me just snapped. I literally, and I kid you not, fell on the floor. I was on my chair, and I fell on the floor. My legs gave way. It was as if the strings holding me up had been cut. It was humiliating. It was terrifying. My husband had to come and pick me up because I couldn't drive myself home. The very next day, that very same colleague called me, and as soon as I heard her voice on the phone, I collapsed again, sobbing and shaking on the floor. My mind and my body were in full rebellion, finally forcing me to confront what I had been avoiding. I saw a doctor, because frankly speaking, at this point, I had to. The Dutch are known for their directness, and she was no different. She did not mince her words. After a long pause and a concerned look, she told me, stop. Shut off your phone. Turn off your email. Get help. If you want to leave, you must stop working now. Her message was jarring. All my achievements, all my responsibilities, that they meant nothing if I ran myself to the ground. This career that I had been pouring my soul into was about to literally cost me my life if I didn't hit the brakes. Talk about a wake-up call. So there I was, a successful executive, a woman who on the surface to the world literally had it all, with the accolades and the title and the respect. You had the bio. I was completely broken down. I had been ignoring all the warning signs my body and heart were sending. Burnout does not announce itself with a loud voice or sirens like the police cars. It whispers. It whispers in skipped meals and shallow breaths, in early morning emails and the tears you quietly wipe away in an airport bathroom so no one sees. Burnout often looks like high functioning excellence on the outside, but in the inside, it's a quiet collapse. I had been so busy. I had been so busy being who I thought I needed to be that I lost who I really was. I had confused being needed with being whole. I had mistaken exhaustion for purpose. I had forgotten that rest is not a reward for finishing everything on my to-do list. Rest was a requirement for survival. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to me so graciously. I know that that is an intense way to start a talk, but I wanted to start with that story because it was the only honest gateway as to why I am here, why I am speaking to you amazing women on this theme. My name, as you were told, is Dorothy Getubapala. I am a wife, I am a mother, I'm a creative, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a content executive, I am a leader, and above all, I am a child of the Most High God. I stand before you not just as a leader in my industry, but as a woman who has learned the hard way that success can come at too high a price. On the outside, I was collecting promotions, I was collecting awards, and yes, I was collecting frequent flyer miles. But on the inside, I was running on empty. So today, for this moment we have together, I want to share with you what I discovered on the other side of accolades. I want to share with you about finding my identity. about finding my alignment, and about finding peace in leadership, beyond the applause, beyond the awards. This journey taught me how to redefine what strength and success means, and it gave me a new mission. Guys, we women here in this room, dressed very, very nice, we often feel we must push ourselves. Can I get a witness? We feel that we must prove ourselves endlessly. Can I get a witness? And you know why? Because for so long that space at the top was not designed for us. We are afraid that if we slow down, if we say no, we'll fall behind or we will let others down. That was me. I wore my busyness like a badge of honor, while privately my health, my happiness frayed. Now, I cannot recall anybody as I was growing up teaching me about work or life or how the two intertwined. What I remember, what I saw, what created a particular impression in me was that by the age of 40, my mother was a high-flying executive, and I admired her and her equally busy and successful friends. I wanted to be like her and her friends. Everywhere she went, she was respected and admired. Society celebrated the polished, high-achieving woman, always on the move, always on, always doing. So this was my first understanding of leadership. Guys, there's something powerful and equally dangerous about the compliments or the affirmations we receive as women sometimes. You're strong. You're breaking glass ceilings. You're doing it all. The world celebrates achievements. It celebrates endurance. It celebrates visibility. It reinforces a narrow image of what it means to be a strong woman. And if I'm to be honest with you, those compliments are seductive. Those introductions, they are seductive. They feel like validation. But without realizing it, we start working to protect the image instead of living from purpose. We call it legacy. We say it's for our daughters. We even spiritualize it. We say it's our calling. We justify with our past struggles or our family responsibility. Almost every story of a so-called strong woman begins the same way. She was incredibly hardworking. It's as if hardship is a price of worth. But sometimes what looks like strength is just suffering dressed up for applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now in my 11th month of medical leave. I am now in the 11th month of my sick leave. Now, during my sick leave, I found myself moving through what felt like various stages of grief, because burnout is a kind of loss. It is the loss of energy. It is the loss of clarity. It is the loss of who I thought I was. What came next wasn't necessary, was not just recovery, it was mourning. First came the shock. I remember lying on my bed, guys, staring at the ceiling completely numb. My body had shut down. I kept on thinking, this can't be happening. I'm the one who bounces back after 10 days, 15 tops. But this time it was different. Then came the denial. I told myself, I just need a good nap, a few days off. I clung to the idea that I was still in control. Calling it burnout felt too real. And so I didn't, until my therapist did. He said the word out loud, burnout. And suddenly I was drowning in guilt for my kids, for my team, for my family. I kept on asking myself, why didn't I see it coming? What could I have done differently? And then next came anger at the world. I was angry at my calendar. I was angry at the endless expectations. But mostly, I was angry at myself for missing the signs. I had pushed through, ignoring every red flag, like a speeding driver past warning lights. And eventually, I crashed. I broke down. Then came the shame. The deep, aching shame. Because I prided myself on being strong. And burnout felt like failure. I didn't want to admit that I had limits. And so I pulled away from others, from myself. And then I started bargaining with God. I whispered prayers. God, just help me get back on my feet. I'll rest. I promise. I'll set boundaries. I promise. Just please, don't take this my calling away. Don't take this my career that you called me to away. And then came the stillness, the fog, the quiet sadness that settles in when the world moves on without you. I felt lost. If I'm not doing, if I'm not fixing, if I'm not producing, then who am I? And then quietly, acceptance came. Not in a flash, but like a gentle friend sitting beside me in silence. I began to understand. I am human. I have limits. Rest is not weakness. My worth is not what I do. It is who I am. And that was my turning point. So now the question was, how do I get back to normal? It was, the question was not how do I get back to normal, but it was how do I move forward, changed and whole. There was no manual, there was no playbook, there was no roadmap, just me and stillness. And I have to tell you, I didn't know what to do with this stillness. I remember my husband in his calm, steady way saying to me, it's the small things, the mundane things. Just do the everyday stuff. Just be present. They always tell you in an aeroplane, when they're giving you the safety instructions, that in case of an emergency, when the oxygen mask falls from the above compartment, put on yourself, then put on your child. It feels counterintuitive, right? That instruction never made sense to me back then, and when I had my 2 daughters, it even made less sense. Yet this remains the first and most urgent lesson that I learned when I was away on my medical leave. I had to put my own oxygen mask first. I always felt the inexplicable need to do everything, to fix everything, to do my job and that of a few other people. The ball simply could not be dropped, not on my watch, a savior complex, which on the surface might seem selfless. But if you peel back the layers, it is fraught with ego. My first breakdown at the airport and then years later made it painfully clear that I was neglecting the very foundation of effective leadership, my health and my well-being. So I made an incredibly difficult decision. I stepped back. I went on my medical leave, and it was a terrifying thing to do. There was a loud voice in my head screaming, what about your career? You have worked so hard for it. Everything will crumble without you. But that was the voice of fear. And yes, ego. It was not the truth. Because in reality, the world did not end when I stepped away to heal. It absolutely continued, and it did so without skipping a beat. And so during those first weeks of leave, I slept a lot. And I cried a lot. But this is where I learned to surrender. It was a very difficult thing at first because sitting in my silence, I realized I had to surrender the future I had created for myself in exchange for the future that God had for me. There is something profoundly powerful about surrendering to God's divine guidance, in letting go and then seeing Him work through other people who slowly and ever so gingerly led me to a place of healing. My husband is an extremely supportive man. He is an Guys, my husband is a very patient man. But he drew the line, a very hard line. Gently, but firmly, he said to me, you have to take the time to heal. You have to see a psychologist. And here is his number. I have written an email introduction, and I've spoken to him already. You're welcome. I stared at him in silence, nodding, thankful, because I wasn't entirely sure that I had the wherewithal to start looking for a therapist. It ended up being a perfect match. I remember sitting at my psychologist's couch for the first time, marveling at the tastefully designed office. I wasn't sure whether I should lie down or I should sit up. I'd watched enough Hollywood movies to know I could do either. You know, on Africa television, we don't depict therapy sessions on our shows and our movies. So I had no reference point. He said he would ask me some questions, and then we would take it from there. 45 minutes later, he looked at me and said with plenty of compassion, "You're suffering from acute burnout, you're suffering from depression caused by burnout, and you have trauma." I stared blankly at him. He very well could have spoken Russian to me. My brain could not compute. So I nodded, I listened as he laid out a treatment plan. I was exhausted. All I could think about was lying down and closing my eyes. And from then on, every week, my husband would take me to see my therapist. He would wait for me at the restaurant by the corner, like clockwork. I would be done in 60 minutes, sometimes 90. I would join him. He would ask me how it went. I would answer. We would eat some food. Then we would go home. I would then go and I would sleep. This decision to seek professional help is one of the bravest things I have ever done in my life. Because slowly but surely, I began to feel the fog in my mind lifting. One day I phoned my mother, and after our casual catching up, I confessed something to her. I said to her, "Mom, I think I was addicted to my work." I told her that I felt that I had made my career my everything. I had idolized it. I had let it define me. It had become my identity, and I was feeling rather lost without it. Because who was I really without my titles? Who was I really without my accolades? I realized that people wear burnout as a badge of honor. We think that burnout is a sign that we are strong. It is not. It is a sign that something is very, very wrong. True strength begins with knowing when to pause, when to breathe, and when to refill your cup. And so the question I asked myself was this: if I stripped away my job title, if I stripped away my resume, if I stripped away the pats on the back, who was I? This was a very difficult question, and at first I felt very empty. But ultimately, it was liberating because it was a chance for me to redefine success for myself on my own terms. I realized I'd been living by a script I had never consciously written. It was a mix of societal expectation, professional benchmarks, and internal pressure. I had been measuring my worth in accolades, the big shows that we had launched, the many deals that I had closed, the promotions that I had earned, the applause at the industry events, the "you are so amazing" compliment. Don't get me wrong. Like I said before, these things are not bad. But they had become my everything. They had become my identity. And so I started recalling what truly brought me joy, what truly brought me fulfillment before the world told me what I should do. I remembered how success used to feel like, the joy of creating something meaningful, the impact I could have on others, the freedom to be fully myself. And so I pulled out a notebook and I literally wrote a new definition of success, one that had nothing to do with work, with applause, or with awards. I discovered a deeper strength in vulnerability and honesty. It took more courage for me to say I was not okay. It took strength to admit that I needed help, to receive help from doctors, from family, from friends. It took strength to step away from a high status, high profile job and role to heal. It took strength to be silent. It took strength to ignore the whispers. It took strength to ignore the gossip. This is a form of strength that the world does not give enough credit. The strength to be real. So now I believe that success is not just about what I achieve, but also how I achieve it and who I become in the process. And strength isn't about never failing. It's about getting up differently, wiser, with humility. In fact, I will say this clearly for those who are taking notes. Saying no is a leadership skill, and setting healthy boundaries is a form of success. Redefining success and strength in this way was like taking off a pair of beautiful, expensive heels that everybody has been complimenting you on and how you look so nice, but when you take them off, your feet feel sore. I felt lighter, and I want to invite you to consider redefining strength and success for yourself. If the current definitions you're chasing are burning you out or are leaving you empty, you have the authority to change them. No one lives in your skill or your soul. You get to decide what a life well lived looks like. Don't let society or an outdated personal script trap you into a definition of success that leaves you depleted. A huge part of my healing journey, and perhaps the most profound lesson, was learning to lead with authenticity. And my sisters have spoken about this. To realign with my spiritual core, and they have each mentioned it. So let me expound a little bit. When I was grinding away, trying to be superwoman, I just didn't neglect my body. I neglected my soul. I was so busy performing the role of being a perfect leader that I lost touch with the real me and with the purpose that got me into leadership in the first place. In the flurry of my busy life, I sidelined the quiet moments of prayer and reflection that used to guide me in the past. Occasionally, when there was a challenge that came my way, I was quick to break the glass and ask God, hey, please help me, show me mercy. And you know what? He always did. So in the depths of my silence and in surrender and desperation, when I had nothing left, I finally knelt down, literally and figuratively, and I prayed from the depths of my heart, the shortest prayer I have ever said. God, I need you. I cannot do this anymore on my own. Please help me. It was my most honest prayer that I'd uttered in a very long time, and I let go of my pride in that moment, the pride that told me I should be able to handle everything by myself. And I surrendered. And that surrender was the beginning of a profound realignment. It was not a flashy moment. It was quiet. It was personal. And you know what? In the world of big business and big ambition, surrender and obedience are not popular words. But I learned that sometimes true leadership looks like quiet obedience. Obedience, like my sister said, to your core values. Obedience to your convictions. And for me, obedience to God's prompting in my life. And what do I mean by that? I mean choosing to do what you know is right for your soul, for your integrity, even if it goes against the external pressures or expectations. In my case, obedience meant being still when every fiber of my ambitious being wanted to fight, to charge ahead. It meant listening for that still small voice of wisdom. Whether you call it intuition or your inner guidance, I call it the Holy Spirit. I started each day of my medical leave with quiet time, early morning silence, no phone, just me, sitting in silence, meditating on scripture and journaling. At first, my mind was racing. I was essentially detoxing from years of constant stimulation and noise. But gradually, I began to hear myself think clearly again. I began to sense that what my spirit had been trying to tell me all along, that I am more than my work, that I am loved for who I am, not just for what I do, and that I have a purpose that does not require me to destroy myself. Stillness was precisely what I needed to regain knowledge of that greater presence and that purpose in my life. Day by day, I embraced stillness, and I prayed and I wrote out my tangled thoughts, and a peace crept back into my heart. A peace I had almost forgotten was possible. It was like rain on a parched ground, slowly bringing life back. And with that peace came clarity. And I started to see which parts of my life were aligned with my true self and which parts were performative and they were forced. Authenticity, I realized, isn't just a buzzword. It's a lifeline. If I couldn't be authentic in my leadership, then the success I was striving for would always feel hollow. Authentic leadership meant I had to integrate all parts of myself, my values, my well-being, my faith, my femininity, my empathy into how I lead, not check them at the door. I had to be the same person in the meeting room that I was in my journal and in my prayer. No more mask of invincibility, no more pretending that I had it all together when I didn't. In essence, I made a commitment to leading with authenticity, to show up as my true self, not as a perfect superwoman facade, to stay spiritually aligned, to listen to that inner guidance and let it lead the way. It's an ongoing journey. I'm definitely still a work in progress, but it brought such freedom, and I feel whole, and there is such power in wholeness. After coming back to a more balanced life, I knew that big insights alone were not enough, and I had to approach this new way of leadership with daily practices. Just like a physical therapy session after a big injury, I needed ongoing habits to maintain my recovery from burnout and to prevent relapse. This is where the concept of the daily practice, which is rooted in surrender, reflection, and values came from. I built one singular habit into my routine to keep me grounded, to keep me healthy, and to keep me aligned. Every day, I spend time each morning in silence. I pray, I read, I seek wisdom and clarity for the day and guidance for the inevitable challenges that will occur. And this daily practice has been crucial. It ensures that all the talk of valuing health and authenticity and balance actually show up in real actions. It's easy to slip back into overdrive, especially when things get busy and they get exciting. Having this practice anchors me. Of course, I'm not perfect. There are days I skip this routine, but now I notice the difference immediately. One of the greatest discoveries of my journey was the importance of community and sisterhood. And all my sisters have spoken about it, and I want to once again emphasize. Ironically, as you said, when I was at the peak of my success, I often felt alone. As one of the few women at the top in the industry, I felt I had to represent all the women, and that made me hesitant to show any cracks. And to be honest, I had this subtle belief that female leaders had to tough it out on their own, that reaching the top meant I had to prove I could do it solo, because asking for camaraderie or support might look like I wasn't strong enough. How wrong was I? During my medical leave, when my usual defenses were down, I experienced something beautiful. I began to open up to other women about what I was going through. At first, it was one or two close friends. I told them the truth. I'm struggling. I'm not superwoman. I feel like I'm failing. And instead of judgment, I was met with empathy and love. These women rallied around me. These women prayed for me. These women sent me encouraging messages. They checked on me with genuine concern. Their support was like a lifeline thrown to a drowning swimmer. It made me realize how much I had been missing by trying to do it alone. I learned that we women, we need each other, truly, and especially in these high-pressure careers that we venture to pursue. It is easy to fall into a scarcity mindset, as if there's only one seat at the table for one woman, so we better compete for it. But that is a lie. The reality is that when one woman rises and stays whole, she brings others up with her. And one woman, when she stumbles, others can catch her and they can help her heal, so she can continue the journey. We are sisters. We are not rivals. There is strength in that realization. And this is not a zero-sum game. There is potential force multiplier when we connect, when we collaborate. We amplify each other's impact. We create a legacy where the next generation of women leaders, they won't have to go at it alone, or they feel that they have to be pitted against each other. We can create and set the example of sisterhood and hopefully continue that tradition. The bottom line is leadership can be lonely, but it doesn't have to. The theme of my talk as I conclude is beyond accolades. And it is an invitation. It is an invitation to step off the never-ending treadmill of striving for external validation and stepping into the stillness of knowing who you are beyond your titles and your trophies. It is an invitation to trade performing for authentic living. It is an invitation to trade mere ambition for purposeful impact, to trade competition for community, to trade burnout for balance. This doesn't mean we stop achieving or dreaming big dreams, not at all. It simply means that our achievements and our dreams will actually serve us and they will serve others because they will flow from a place of a healthy whole heart. And so I want to close by saying this, because these are the lessons, and if you pick anything from the many stories I have told, pick these ones. Form a habit of pausing and reflecting. It can take many forms: daily walks, quiet mornings, reflecting bedtime routines, but the trick is finding that time to have a daily commitment. It is foundational, and it will lead to authentic daily devotion. Number 2, realign your priorities. Think deeply about what truly matters to you, whether it's your health, your family, your faith, your creativity, your community impact, whatever it is. Then look at your calendar and look at your routines. Does your daily life honor these priorities? Next, reframe your success. What does successful life look like to you? Let that definition be your North Star. The next time society's definition of success pressure you, glance at your truth's North Star and remember what really counts for you. And the last lesson is support other women. When you lift others up, you will be lifted. I want to conclude by saying something Brené Brown said. Authenticity is not something that you have or you don't have. Authenticity is a practice, a conscious choice of letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and embracing who you actually are. And so I stand here today in front of you, not as someone who has it all figured out, but someone who's continually learning and healing. My journey towards embracing authenticity and wholeness in leadership is ongoing. I jokingly say that I now walk with a little bit of a limp, a reminder of the lessons that I had learned. But I also walk with far more joy and freedom than I have ever had when I was carrying the weight of the world alone. Beyond the accolades, the world needs the authentic you. More importantly, you need the authentic you. The people you lead need the authentic you. The people you love, that you come home to, need the authentic you. The young generation that is watching you need the authentic you. We all need the real, vibrant, whole person that you are at the core. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for listening to my reflections. Your life is more than a resume. It's more than a list of your accomplishments. Lead from wholeness. Lead from your soul. When you do, not only will you thrive, but every single person around you will be blessed by the leader and the person you become. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ma. You can do it better. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Dorothy, all the way from Kenya. Thank you so much. All right. For our online audience, please ensure that you are following, you're using the hashtag The Platform Africa for those online, and make sure you note your questions, whether you're online or you're here with us physically. Please ensure you use the hashtag. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the next speaker. Are you ready? Are you ready? No. It seems as though our energy has dropped. The energy level has dropped. Maybe because it's about noon and you're feeling a bit tired. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the next speaker. Are you ready? That's better. That's better. So we have the Honorable Minister with us, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. Thank you. So Dr. Jumoke Oduwole is a distinguished policy reformer and legal expert. She currently is serving as Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. She's also a senior fellow at the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government, USA. She served in the Buhari administration from 2015 to 2023, first as SSA to the President on Industry, Trade and Investment, and as SA to the President on Ease of Doing Business. She was the pioneer executive secretary to the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and give a warm round of applause to the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please sit. Good afternoon, just in time. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. You're my me moment. Yes. I've been working all week since Sunday. We welcomed venture capitalists and private equity stakeholders across Africa and the world to come and invest in Nigeria and Africa's economy. So since Sunday, we've been in Lagos from meeting to meeting, and this was my me moment. So I just finished my last session there. And so I feel like I can sink into you. And so I'm really happy to be here. Good morning, everyone. What a privilege it is to be here today on this historic edition of the Platform Africa. I would like to thank Pastor Poju Oyemade, his beautiful wife, and the entire team for the vision behind this gathering. A Pan-African platform to rethink our continent. There could hardly be a more urgent or powerful call. And to be in the company of such accompanied women and policymakers from business, policy, and the creative sectors, it's truly a privilege. The theme of this session, Women in Leadership and Women in Business, is not just timely, it is personal. For me, this is not just a topic of policy, it is a lived experience. My entire leadership journey has been shaped by a deep commitment to driving transformative change and impact within Nigeria's economic growth. I began my career in investment and corporate banking at FCMB and Guarantee Trust Bank, where I built a strong foundation in financial systems and business strategy. That experience gave me a clear lens into how capital moves and how economic structures reshape national development. My academic path has also played a defining role. From University of Lagos to advanced degrees at Cambridge and Stanford, Jocelyn and I were at Cambridge together. Yes, we were. We lived across, our buildings were across each other, so it's great to see you, Jocelyn. Including a doctorate in law, and I've been fortunate to study trade, development, and global economic systems in depth, although all 4 of my degrees are in law. I'm a lawyer and a law teacher to the core. My focus on international trade and development allowed me to interrogate global trade asymmetries and explore how developing countries can negotiate more equitably. That intellectual journey led me to the Kennedy School at Harvard University, where I served as a senior fellow, contributing to public policy and governance research. Together, these experiences have shaped my approach to leadership, rooted in evidence, equity, and a belief in Africa's capability to compete and thrive globally. I've been a banker, a lawyer, a teacher, a researcher, a reformer, and at the core, a public servant. At the heart of every season has been one constant, a desire to make Nigeria and Africa work better, fairer, smarter, more inclusive. In 2015, I made the decision to volunteer to support His Excellency, the then Vice President, a step that opened the door to a journey of purposeful public service. This opportunity led me to serve in several pivotal roles, beginning as a Senior Special Assistant to the President on Industry, Trade and Investment, and later as Special Advisor to the President on Ease of Doing Business and Secretary to the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, the 𝐓𝐏𝐏𝐿. After serving for 8 years under the Buhari administration, I was deeply honored when the current Vice President placed his trust in me once again, appointing me as Special Advisor on 𝐓𝐏𝐿 and Investment in 2023, building on a 9-year record of reform-driven success. These roles have given me a front-row seat on both the challenges and the transformative potential within Nigeria's business environment. They have deepened my belief in the power of reform, policy, and purposeful leadership to unlock growth, drive investment, and build a more prosperous future. This journey, anchored in public service and guided by a passion for nation building, continues to shape how I lead and serve today. If you have walked any part of that road as a woman, you know it takes more than ambition to lead. It takes clarity, courage, and the audacity to keep showing up, even when the rooms are not built for you. I learned this early. My mother was the first female registrar at the University of Lagos. She raised me with no gender bias and no ceilings. Her lesson was simple. You don't have to become someone else to lead. You lead by becoming more of who you truly are. Now, rethinking power and rethinking leadership. Let's talk about power. Power is not only held in office or corner suites. True power is the ability to shape outcomes, to create value, to influence culture, to leave places better than you found them. And across Africa, women are doing just that. From the market stall to the boardroom, from policy chambers to production studios, we are no longer waiting to be invited. We are building the tables. But progress has not been automatic. Even today, women remain underrepresented at the highest levels of leadership across both public and private sector. And yet, when women lead, things change. Studies have shown that women in leadership are more likely to prioritize collaboration, invest in social infrastructure, and lead with empathy and inclusion. Companies with more women in leadership outperform their peers. Countries with more inclusive policies grow faster and more equitably. Leadership is not a gendered gift, but the absence of women in leadership is a loss, not just for women, but for the society. So from reform to results. Over the past decade, I've had the chance to work across some of the most reform-intensive spaces in Nigeria's economy. Whether it was driving ease of doing business with over 200 verifiable regulatory changes, helping Nigeria climb 39 places in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings, or advocating for regulatory improvements across ministries, state governments, I've seen what happens when the government and business work hand in hand. And here's what I've learned. Policy is a lever, but people are the engine. When women have the tools, the networks, and the opportunity, they don't just participate, they lead, they grow, they multiply value. That is why I have made mainstream gender inclusion in industrial and policy and trade policy. Whether we are designing for MSME support funds, shaping trade facilitation strategies, or negotiating under the 𝐓𝐶FTA agreement, we must ask, where are the women? Because this is smart economics. It's an open secret that my team is heavily female. We have some token males here and there. But it's heavily female, not because they're female, because they're exceptional people who happen to be women. And so the business of the future is female. Africa's future will be driven by women in business. Already, women account for nearly 60% of Africa's self-employed population. Yet they face systemic barriers in accessing finance, markets, and formal structures, and that has to change. As we rethink our continent, we must reimagine an economy that truly works for women. Where startup capital doesn't require collateral, women are statistically less likely to own. Where business networks don't exclude you based on who you do or do not know. Where policies are not gender blind, but gender intentional. And where leadership is not something women have to prove that they are worthy of, but something we collectively cultivate, mentor, and support at every level. It is about excellence, it is about impact, and it's about being good at what you do and being committed to your role. I hope my leadership legacy reflects the power of systemic change, and I want to be remembered for delivering visionary impact, for my passion, for caring enough to sacrifice many things to build a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable business environment in Nigeria and Africa. One where policies that drive real progress and create opportunities for every Nigerian woman, particularly young people and women, is front and center. More than anything, I want to inspire future leaders to think beyond self and beyond immediate challenges and beyond immediate gratification, embrace bold reforms, and work relentlessly towards a prosperous and inclusive Nigeria and Africa. Let me close with 3 challenges to myself and to all of us in this room and watching us everywhere. Number 1, mentor with intention. Every woman here has a story, a scar, a breakthrough, a moment of clarity. Share it. Do not just inspire. Invest, sponsor, build the ladder for the next woman. Number 2, collaborate across borders. This is Platform Africa, not just Platform Nigeria. We must think beyond borders. What can a Kano investor learn from an incubator in Lusaka? What can a Ugandan policy reformer teach a Senegalese entrepreneur? The time for siloed success is over. Africa must grow together. 3, lead with purpose. Leadership is not about being at the top. It is about being at the center of transformation. Whether you run a business, a ministry, or a classroom, ask yourself, am I building systems that outlive me? Am I making room for others? Am I moving from success to significance? In the words of my mentor, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a leader who has profoundly shaped my journey, if your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. To every woman building, leading, and navigating, may your dreams scare you. And may they also inspire you to act, to rise, to lift others as you climb. Thank you for your attention. God bless you.
Keep clapping for the Honorable Minister. Keep clapping. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you. We can do better. We can do better. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Please, you may be comfortably seated. What a day. What a day. What a day it has been. Has it been a day? A day and a half. Let's put our hands together for yourselves. Put your hands together for yourselves. You've been an amazing audience. Amazing. Soaking in, just generally, enjoying the sessions. And for those online, please give us an emoji signifying that you're there. We see you, we love you, and we recognize you. Thank you so much, our online audience. Thank you. Wow. So now we're going to move into the next session, which is the panel session. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? And you heard what, okay, let me hold back from recapping. Let me hold back, okay? Let the panelists come and do their thing. Are we ready for this? All right, please remember, if you are sharing on social media, to use the hashtag #ThePlatformAfrica. And if you have the YouTube link, you can go to the Platform NG, get the YouTube link, and post on your WhatsApp status. All right? If not, you're going to face the wall right here. Is that okay? All right. Okay, so please post. Okay, are we ready for the panel session? All right, so they're going to be organizing and getting ready for the panel session. So I think I have a minute or two. Do you need me? Okay, right. So they need to carry this up. Okay, so while we're waiting for them to set up the panel session, we have a minute or two for you to quickly tell us, one or two people, what struck you from these conversations? What struck you? Anybody? Just one person. Yes, please. Again, all right.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I am Bukola. Okay, so I'll take first from Dorothy. Thank you so much, every of the speaker. You did amazingly well. It's like a first-class ticket for me to be here. So I learned about burnout. I'm a hard worker. I work so hard. It makes me cry. At times I get so exhausted and I begin to blame people around me that, it's like they are not getting it. Yes, our background may have determined, the race we are running, but the truth is, eventually we have ourselves to hold accountable for the success we eventually. So if no one is cheering you up, cheer yourself up that, you're doing well. So when she said those narrations were quite relatable, maybe not as high as ours, but then I could tell from my own industry that I do so many things trying to make ends meet and the likes. So that I learned, and I'm able to write some things that I'll be doing differently. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together for her. Thank you so much. All right, now very quickly we're moving into the panel session, and in no particular order, we are inviting up stage the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. Please put your hands together for her. We have Jocelyn Katiba. Please keep clapping as they are coming. Keep clapping. We have Aisata Sidibe. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have Dorothy Getuba Pala. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so please, a QR code will be displayed on the screen. Please ensure that you send the questions you've been noting to that QR code. Can we work with that? All right, thank you so much. So good afternoon, madams, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to the Platform Africa. Please put your hands together for our panelists one more time. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to be taking some questions that we've had from the audience, and so that we can just go around. So I'd like to start with, yes, would we need one more? Yes, please. Thank you. Please put your hands together for her. Isn't she gorgeous? Stunning. Thank you. I mean, they're adorable, beautiful. Thank you so much. Actually, ma'am, the first question is for you. Yes. It's for you. And it was about how you were able to turn $3 million to 40 in 3 years. That is amazing. Please just put your hands. Isn't that mind-blowing? These are women of timber and caliber. So please walk us through that journey.
I think my success in corporate has really been about the kind of teams that I work with, I think one of the first things that I do when I get into any job is to ensure that I actually set up a great team. People sometimes have a different view. They feel you should be accommodating of everyone. You can't just have a team of A players or just B players. I beg to differ. I think there's a place for those who do not want to be A, and I can accommodate B players. But I feel everybody has the potential to actually be an A player if they apply themselves and they are in the right job. So the first thing that I do when I get into any job is to ensure that we have a great team and everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be working on. So that's the key to success, because once you have great people who are inspired, they'll go out of their way to ensure that, first of all, they spot new business opportunities, and then that they extend discretionary energy. Discretionary energy is exactly the opposite of what she spoke about, where you're just putting yourself out there, putting in so much energy and, really forcing yourself to show up. Discretionary energy comes from people who are driven, who are passionate about what they do, and they show up every day loving what they do. So the best success I've heard was working with teams that were inspired that way, because our customers also feel it. So when you have a driven team that are passionate about what they do, they'll go out of their way to ensure that they also make your customers happy, and the happier your customers are, the more business they give you. That's really the secret. Thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. The next question is for you, Ma, the Honorable Minister. So we looked at a video of you online. It's something you talked about, and you talked about personal sacrifice, about how you took a 90% pay cut, and immediately my mind went to what was left was tithe. You see, the 10%, and what motivated you to make such a decision at that time?
Thank you for that question. Gosh, that was a long time ago. Would I do that now? Actually, the truth is that I'm taking more than that now as a cut, because if I think of what I would earn elsewhere, the opportunity cost of public service is quite high. And that's the importance of focus and knowing what you want to achieve. I used to ask my students a question, and it was, what do you want to have on your tombstone? And we didn't like the question because they're like teenagers. I said, okay, imagine you're receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award at 80. What do you want to be said about you? And so if you want to die empty, if you want to give everything in you out to the world and know that you've done it all, then you can't work for money. There's nothing wrong with money, but money is a tool, and money follows value, and that's what I was just hearing you say. And so when you work for focus and you move to where that purpose is, then whether it's a 90% pay cut or you're working for free, you're working for your passion and for your fulfillment, and that's the most important thing of all.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for the Honorable Minister. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now the next question is for you, Madam Jocelyn. A video from you, was talking about how you shuddered about where Crestform would be today if at the 50-year mark, if you had, a board. So I want you to paint a picture. What would it have been like if you had a board when you were 5? Because a lot of people think, I'm too small, it's not time to have corporate governance, it's just me and a team of 2. What do you say to a woman like that who is saying, it's just me and this team of 2, I don't need a corporate board, or we don't need corporate governance?
I think this is better. Thank you for that question. This whole notion around corporate governance, or the idea of leaning and really gaining wisdom from others, is something that we all have to realize we need always. I think it's not a question of timing. It's really more a question of how you go about attaining that support. and really being very proactive and actually being intentional. So when I mentioned that in a particular talk I had given, I was actually reflecting on the fact that, in the early 2 decades when Crestform was, operating, the industry and the type of opportunities that were in front of us were so different from what I'm dealing with today. First of all, there was very limited competition. Literally, we were mainly 2 or 3 players. So it was just a huge opportunity. Anyone who was selling something, these things were flying off. It was real. I don't know anybody who started a factory back in the 1990s, early 1990s in Uganda, that actually didn't do well just by being. So I think one of the things that we failed to probably understand is how, the headwinds would change and evolution. And if we had, looking back, onboarded, experts that had, experience, because, it also matters. It shouldn't be just people who are just going to learn with you, but people who really are going to bring a best-in-class way of thinking about specific areas. And these areas include whether it's risk management, areas around just how you can improve your own internal processes. But the other big one is around your strategic thinking. I think one of the challenges that most entrepreneurs have is they feel like, what can so-and-so tell me? Have you done something? Like, I don't know if there's much you can, may I make money? For you, how much? And what we forget is we cannot be experts across, everything. So, like I mentioned in the bio you shared earlier, I do sit on 4 boards today, and I can tell you on those tables, I have been blown away by the kind of discussions, and we have tough ones, and I am sometimes leading the tough discussions and challenging those poor MDs. I think some of them kind of look at me and they're like, this woman, really, is she trying to make a point? And I would tell you that what we try to do in those discussions is push the thinking, is make each other a bit uncomfortable so that we can forge a way forward that is a lot more powerful than if just one head was putting all that together. So, in terms of if you're an entrepreneur out there, you're an SME and you just want to have a vision to take you somewhere, maybe you haven't even defined what that looks like, you're too scared, you must have a board. It can start out as an advisory board. It need not be too structured as much as you can have like 2-3 people. Again, be very careful on how you select those people because they really need to fill in where you probably are a bit limited. And so you're looking at people who, have demonstrated worked in some places that you look up to. So for instance, it would be someone who is in a bigger, enterprise than the one that you would have as an example. And then the hardest part, surrendering some power. That one, because one of the mistakes that I have seen even for myself is you walk into the boardroom and what you really want to do is present these nice slides and you're just looking for people to nod. You need to actually allow yourself to be open-minded and just listen and just allow them to push your thinking and inform that thinking and take you to the next level. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, so the next question is for you, 𝐓𝐿. You spoke about how you didn't want to be in the communications department and how eventually it has, brought you to where you are today. Now, there's someone listening, whether in person or online, and she's saying, I don't like my job. You see, it's hard. This is not where I want to be. I thought maybe at 39, maybe I'll be something else. I'll be somewhere else. Maybe I'll have achieved more. What do you say to that kind of person who is saying, time has gone and I really don't like where I am today?
For me, it was different, right? Because I came in, it turned out to be an opportunity because I wanted to stay within the institution, right? So I took the job and I ended up liking it. So it worked out for me. So that's a little bit different from someone who is just, is in a position and they're not happy with their position. I think I talked about that a little bit. I think if you're in a certain position, you're not happy in the position you're in, then you should seek to grow. And we talk about that all the time. In any case, you should never stay static. You should always be in training. You're always learning. And learning can be a tool to move to another field, whether it's another field, to another job. So you're not stuck. if you have a job already and you're not happy in the job that you're in, then you should think about how to get out of this job. But then, and I say this all the time, people will go online to look at the wrong things. There's so much online. You can train, you can learn everything you need to learn about in terms, and it's free. A lot of times you can find, I think someone said this, I don't know if it's true, we have Harvard graduates here, but someone mentioned one time that there are Harvard courses online for free. And I said I need to go and look for those. So you can educate yourself. You don't need to wait. If you're not happy, take action. Take action, go train, right? Train, look for another job. Use that network I mentioned, because oftentimes we forget that we have a network, and this is the time where you should use that network to see if you can find another job, if you can move elsewhere. If you're really not happy there, there's no point in staying. Now, if you're there and you see a position within the institution that you would like to take, then work towards that position. Speak to the people in that other department. See how you can move to that department, and then work towards that. So you have to be intentional about it. You can't just sit and say, I'm not happy in my job, and then do nothing about it, right? Then we consider that you're happy in your job, because if you're not doing anything about it, then you should try to change it. And changing it means taking action. And that's what you should do.
A round of applause for our panelists. Beautiful response. Thank you so much. And our next question is for you, Madam Dorothy. So you did speak about how your mom was the one who said you should build your own table when you had gone for several auditions and no door was opening as such, and you just needed to have a break in the industry. So there's someone listening out there who is saying, nobody's giving me a break. Nobody's giving me an opportunity. I don't know where to go. What do you say to someone who is saying, I have no opportunities, nobody's giving me a door, nobody's giving me a break? What do you say to that person who is in-house today?
Thank you so much for that question. And yes, my mom, and I know she's watching, and I just get this chance to say thank you so much. You're the best mom in the world. I never get a chance to say that. And indeed, she did tell me in a place of despair, where I felt that I sounded different and I looked different and they were not picking me for the roles. And, they're not choosing me for their television shows because I'd wanted to be an actress. And she said, you just make your own show and be in it. And say it like someone who's not in the entertainment industry. But I think it underscores her mindset, which is, how can you create opportunities? Because I think sometimes we make a mistake of waiting for opportunities to be handed to us, and we miss the opportunity to create opportunities. Someone said about the two people who came to Africa. They were sent by a shoe company, and they were told to do a recon, and they both went back, and one said, they do not wear shoes, there is no market for us there. And someone said, they do not wear shoes, there is a market for us there. I think it's always about perspective. And so what I want to urge the person who's sitting there is that there are so many problems in the world. If you can find a way of solving them, then that is an opportunity. So create an opportunity for yourself.
A wonderful round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. Create an opportunity. Now, this next question is for you, Madam Olebile. You said, and I quote, the world is full of highly specialized people who stay too long in jobs only to then take their knowledge into retirement. Yes, I know. So please, elaborate that for us.
I think a lot of us, early on in our careers, we develop specialization in whatever it is that you're doing. And I always quote the parable of talents, where a man gave his servants different talents. Some decided to take this talent and actually hide it under a rock. Another one took it, multiplied 2 times. So the one who hid it under a rock said, Master, I was so fearful. I took this talent because I knew that if I lose it, you are going to kill me. So I just hid it under a rock. And then another multiplied it twice. And then yet another servant did the most with that talent. So I feel like, remember what I said earlier about every one of us having up to 600 abilities, you know. So if you only do one thing, I feel like you are the first servant who took that talent and actually hid it under a rock. The knowledge and expertise that we build should enable us to do a lot more than what your job required you to do. And I feel like we build all the specialization only to stay in a job, but it can be applied in so many other ways. You can be a teacher and actually get other people to also be as good as you are. You can start a business that actually uses that skill, or find cross-functional opportunities where that particular talent or skill can actually be used. So that's really where I was coming from, that you work, you retire, you die. That's a waste of talent. Thanks.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. Okay, Ma, to the Honorable Minister. Ma, what policies are currently in place to support the female entrepreneur to move from small to possibly become a large organization?
That's a big question that spans across the entire federal government, state government, local governments, and private sector. So I'll take it another way. I'll say, what do female-owned or female-led businesses know about the policy space in which they operate? We've heard about training, specialization, the gift of knowledge, the fact that there's so much information out there for free on the internet. When we sit and we complain, what is government even doing? I will turn the question around. How many of you know the policies that government has announced, even in the last 2 years, in your sectors? How many of you trust or believe or try to investigate, to utilize for instance, I've been speaking over the last 6 months since I've been appointed into this new role about trade in services, about the African Continental Free Trade Area, about maxing out on being export-led businesses, about the fact that Africa just needs to trade with Africa. That's why I wasn't panicked when President Trump announced tariffs. In fact, we were just joking at the session we came from just now. Alhaji Aliko was saying that the 14%, he was begging me, don't even make trouble because some other countries have 30%, 50%, just let's accept what we've been given. And so the point is that knowledge is indeed power. So what do female-led businesses, what are women doing to make sure that they're equipped with all the information that is out there? And not just, what can government do for me? What has government done for me? Do I know? Do I believe? Do I trust? And another point I would make is, if you need something, have you asked government? Are you a member of any organized private sector group? Do you show up? If you have a complaint, do you have a proposed solution? Do you know what obtains in other African countries or globally in your industry that you would like to see in Nigeria? There's a lot that we can do to empower ourselves and to deliver. But in terms of what the government has and policies from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, there's several female-led initiatives across Bank of Industry, across Nexim Bank, across the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. They all have functioning websites, and you can actually just even write a letter and get a response.
Wow, let's put our hands together for the Honorable Minister. Thank you so much, Ma. Again, what do you know about the policies that have been created for you already? Thank you so much, Ma. Okay, so the next question is for you, Madam Jocelyn. You did say that you hired someone who eventually was part of a fraud. I know that broke me when you said that. So now, what are some of the things you look at when you're hiring someone for maybe like your board or like your team? What are some qualities that you look out for?
So, you know, it's very hard to truly know someone, truly. And the truth is, people actually do change. And some of those changes might be about the environment and, maybe a situation in their own private lives. They can be, coerced into something or induced into something. There's, when we looked at the frauds that happened in our organization, some of them were very telling, right? Some of them, were because some people were relatives. Some had actually even become, private partners or whatever you'd want to call it. They had relations outside the office that were fairly deep. And I think when I sort of peel back and say, okay, what do I look at? I feel there are a couple of things. The first one for sure is, when you're onboarding someone, you do have to take some time to do some background checks. However, because you know that people change over time, you have to sort of keep your eyes, and ears open around, some of those mechanisms that might be available. Sometimes they're not available to you because of the nature in which Africa is set up. A lot of information is missing. So in our country, like in Uganda, we just recently got a national ID system, maybe in the last decade. Not everyone even has a national ID today. And, the credit reference bureaus, all that is just sort of coming on board. We're nowhere close to more developed countries. Things like just doing, a legal check on someone and just understanding really what's happening outside can be difficult. I feel like the most important thing, though, is building an organization where openness, in terms of a culture, and trust actually becomes a mainstream thing. And then having strong whistleblowing policies and mechanisms where people can trust that when they, give information, that it will be taken in confidence and acted upon, at least investigated, considered, and seen through. What I have seen and read, because after all those incidents happened, I had to read about, fraud generally as a topic. And you find a lot of literature that says a lot of the fraud that is detected is actually through whistleblowing. And that then talks to the culture of the organization and what, is the requirement for us as leaders in setting that tone to enable those things to come through. So what I would say is, you will not know people fully. I don't even know myself fully. I'm still discovering myself. And, people will change and you have to accept when those changes happen.
Thank you so much. Please let's put our hands together for her. Thank you so much, madam. I don't know if you heard what she said. After the fraud happened, she read about fraud. She didn't just pray about it, she read about it. So this knowledge thing, we do have to embrace it. Thank you. Yes, we do have to embrace it. Thank you so much. All right, Madam 𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, this one is for you. So you've talked about being resilient, versatile, and living across countries and, making significant transitions. So how have you been able to move across sectors? Can you please share some practical actions you took to root yourself and build networks in a new country, in a new job, in a new ecosystem? What are some things you did to help you really sit into those new positions?
That's a hard question. And a long one to answer, but let me give it a go. So you mentioned resilience, versatility. These are things we all need to have. If you choose that you want to have a career, that you want to work, you need to be versatile, you need to be resilient. It's part of that choice that you made to be in the workplace. And you have to just accept that. That comes with that decision, right? Because it's not always going to be pink and flowers and so, and I talked about that earlier. It's really accepting to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, right? So that's part of resiliency, just adapting to your environment. Now, I want to come to your question where you say, how have I been able to? So for me, it was a transition. It didn't happen overnight. So I was in communication for practically 17 years, 18 years. And at some point, I think COVID was really this thing that happened to all of us, right? Where a lot of us, it was a time for reflection, right? We didn't have to go into the office anymore. We had more time. And well, I don't know if we had more time. We had kids around us all the time. So I don't know if we had more time, but we had more time to reflect. And for me, that's when the switch happened. The switch happened for me. And I decided that I wanted to do something else. The work in communication was good, but it was not meaningful. So I was intentional about it. I mean, when I say meaningful, it wasn't meaningful anymore. I had done almost every division. I had worked in media, in public affairs, so for me, I wasn't learning, I wasn't growing anymore. So this is why I decided to take over the digital media platform. And you said, how do I go across country? How did I manage to build networks? And that happened over time. So I kept my networks. I maintained them. During the time that I worked at the IMF, I met so many people, so many different nationalities. And when I left, I kept in touch with a lot of them. And so that when I did this transition, when I would have to go to a country, I knew I could always call upon someone that I had met previously. So that helped me. For Nigeria, for example, I was able to come to Nigeria when I was working at ACF. And I'm the type of person, when I go to a country, I don't just do the work and then, go back into the hotel room and sleep. I usually go meet people, I always ask somebody when I'm going somewhere, do you know someone I can hang out with, someone who can show me the place? And then from there on, I discover places. That's how I build my networks. And when I came here for work, right? But then I met people through friends. I like the story how I now have my own driver when I come to Nigeria. Because when I came in I came in twice for a mission. And the third time, I told the guy, look, give me your number. We're going to do this, I need your number. And so when people would tell me, you're going to Nigeria, how do you go to Nigeria? And people are afraid of Nigeria. I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm sorry. Especially in Francophone Africa, people are always amazed at me. How did you go? You're not afraid? I'll spare you the details, but they've always telling me how Nigeria is the most dangerous place in the world. I kid you not. This is Francophone West Africa, everywhere I go, whether it's Congo, and Congo is not an easy place by any means, the DRC, but when I go everyone is afraid of Nigeria. So I told them, no, Nigerians are great. So I'm actually your ambassador, thank me for that. So I try as much as I can but anyway, I try to get the lay of the land, and then I come back, and now I work in Nigeria. I've done conferences in Nigeria. And so it's just really about, like I said, building the networks, keeping the contacts, keeping an open mind, especially, and not being afraid. She talked about curiosity. I don't know who talked about, you talked about curiosity and how, be curious, be intentional. When you go to places, don't just stick to the work. Go meet people, build a network. That's what helped me to transition to doing business in different countries and not letting, the fear or the language be a barrier.
Thank you so much. Would you please give her a warm round of applause? Thank you so much, Madam Aissata. So she's essentially saying, when you're leaving today, don't leave the same way you came. Network, meet someone, get their numbers, and build your network. Did we get that? Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll move on to you, Madam Dorothy. So now, you told us a lot about how you were able to take time off work. You told us to rest as women, and that, working so hard is not a badge of honor when we're tired and exhausted. So how are you thinking now about how you will return to work after your leave? How would this new version of you show up practically at work? So essentially, what are you going to do differently?
Thank you so much. That's a powerful question. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show up with every part of me. I think I'm going to stop trying to save the world. Someone joked and said, Dorothy, you're not the Holy Spirit. But no, on a real note, I plan to show up differently, to be purpose-driven, to ask for help, to prioritize, and to do things that align with my values and what it is that I believe in, and to really understand deeply and truly that I am not here to save the world. I shouldn't and I can't. And so there is a job for me. You said something so powerful. Oh, I forget, and I'm going to ask you again when we're inside. But it is being driven by purpose, by passion, but also understanding that everything in moderation, including moderation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And so, I will say it very bluntly. We don't know how to moderate ambition. And so then, for me, I was going until I crashed. And so there are other priorities. I am not what I do. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter. I am all those things. So how can I be holistically myself? So work is only part of who I am and not everything that I am. And that is how I will show
Wow,
up.
brilliant. Please put your hands together for that brilliant response. Work is not who you are, it's part of what you do. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we would love to ask each of them a million questions, but they have to go. I mean, the audience is saying that you all are looking beautiful. I mean, they're looking beautiful. Thank you. So I know that they have to go, and I know you have more questions. So come back next year for the Platform Africa 2026. So please put your hands together for them as they rise. As they rise, we come to the end of our... Yes.
Sorry, I know we've come to the end of the session. I just wanted to acknowledge my friend. I talked earlier about sister's been there for you. A whole sister flew all the way from Botswana to come and support me on this journey. She's over there. Her name is Tutu. She's my friend.
Sorry, please come together for a group photo, please. Group photo. Thank you. So much. Thank you, madams. Thank you.
It's so beautiful. I saw the parents that she was wearing, but I was like, I want those pants.
No, this is Ashoke. It's not done. Thank you so much. Please put your hands together one more time for our panelists. Do it better, do it better. Thank you so much. As they leave, clap for your panelists. Thank you so much. Please, you may be comfortably seated. Thank you, thank you. Dear audience, you have all been amazing. This is the time where you will now clap for yourselves. Wow. What a day it has been. You see, you being here says a lot about the kind of person that you are. You're the kind of person that wants to know more, be more, and do more. Improve herself and change our nation. And remember, we are no longer just impacting Nigeria, we are now impacting Africa. So with that said, I want to say thank you to everyone who has made this event a success. Thank you to everyone at the back, the sound, the media. Thank you to the protocol, the ushers. Thank you to our darling Pastor Poju and his wife for birthing the vision. And thank you, our amazing audience. We now pull the curtains on the Platform Africa 2025.
Fight for you, I'll give my life for you. No valley too low, no mountain too high for me to climb for you.